First of all, let me call to order the meeting of the Carlisle Select Board on the 27th of April, 2021. Let me introduce the members of the board. I'm Alan Lewis. I'm the board chair. Barney Arnold, the vice chair. David isn't here yet, who's the clerk. Kate Reed and Luke Ascalillo. And thank you all for putting your little modifier on your name tonight, so everybody knows who we are. I want to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. There's David. Welcome, David. And I'll quickly run through the draft agenda. We'll start with community input. Then we'll have a LEPC update at 7:15, the master plan presentation with the Barrett Planning Group. 7:45, the Insurance Advisory Committee, where we'll be talking about the health insurance split with town and employee. 8 o'clock, the Carlisle Garden Club project update. 8:15, town meeting election issues. 9 o'clock, this discussion of new town committees. 9:15, appointments and resignations. 9:25, town administrators report. 9:35, liaison reports. 9:45, approval of the warrants and the minutes, and 9:50 adjournment if it's all on time, which it probably won't be. As usual, we will take this out of order if we need to be to speed things along if people aren't quite ready. But let me first start and say, is there any community input this evening? If you would either.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I had asked Doug Stevenson from the Celebrations Committee to come for community input because the agenda was finalized before we could find a spot for Doug, and I thought if he came at the very beginning, that might be the best way to handle it.
It's a wonderful idea. Good evening and welcome, Doug.
You're muted, Doug. Still, it says you're unmuted, but you sound unmuted.
No, you're muted again. Now it's showing up as muted.
Are you double muted, F4? No.
Well, should we go do the LEPC report and then come back?
See if we can get it going. All righty. LEPC report, Chief Fisher. Good evening.
Good evening, all. LEPC met Monday morning, as usual. Carlisle has experienced a few more cases. And so now we're up to 207 cases, 9 probable, 198 confirmed. We still haven't heard on our regional clinic that we submitted for. Hasn't been denied, but we haven't heard the affirmative yet. So we're still waiting to hear from the state whether our regional clinic for vaccination will be considered. Linda Fantasia report, there are lots of changes happening in guidelines for camps. And if anyone obviously caught either the governor or other news sources reporting, there were a variety of changes statewide that we'll probably be able to talk about next Monday, but they're posted on the state website. From the fire station, there were fewer tests last week, but things got very busy again over the weekend with folks returning from vacation. And again, we express our appreciation for the folks at the fire department for making these tests happen. Lots happening at COA. They reported on a lot of COVID-friendly indoor and outdoor events. From the town administration standpoint, Mr. Goddard did report there's been no guidance then on the American Rescue Plan Act. They expect that we'll have some direction for populations of 50,000 or greater on May 10th, and hopefully smaller towns will follow soon after. And I have one thing to add to that, put toward the end of the agenda. In the schools, our friends from schools said things have started seamlessly so far. The recess pods will be eliminated for middle school as of Monday, so as of yesterday. And the school is going to continue to pool testing, and people have continued to sign up for that. Lots of happenings at the library that are also social distance friendly. Like to report, May 5th, we'll be hosting, the police department will be hosting a large scale exercise at the state park during the day. We're doing a mock search and rescue for a missing person in the park that does not have their cell phone. So if folks see extra vehicles up there, extra emergency vehicles up there on May 5th, we'll be up there. Now I'm like probably about 150 people, and there'll be agencies from all over the state and a couple of federal partners, but we'll be doing a mock exercise up there on May 5th. Finally, I'd like to ask the select board to consider, Tim Goddard brought an interesting point to our committee, and that is that the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we've been told we're receiving, a little over $1.5 million, that, you know, previously with the last round of federal funding, it was pretty clear what that was to be used for. You know, we bought a lot of safety equipment with that, police, fire, other agencies within town. We got schools did things, other people did things to keep safe. But this next 1.5 million, we haven't received any direction yet. And even with the clear guidance we got before, it was still very arduous. And so the LEPC as a group respectfully requests that the select board consider appointing a committee to consider our town, how our town will spend that 1.5 million. We feel that that might be the best way to ensure that our town gets what they want with that important money. And that's it, but there's other members of LEPC here. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Thank you very much. Let me just, given your last request, again, we didn't have it on the agenda, but I think there were 3 members of the board of selectmen, or the select board, at that LEPC meeting. So we even had a quorum there, but let me just see if we have consensus on the request to establish that committee. We don't have to establish it tonight, but just make sure that we do have that on our agenda. So I will ask just on a show of hands, if you are in favor of establishing that committee. This is to, so that we have some guidance in advance to be able to offer, for this is a very, very large amount of money, which is coming in relatively unspoken for, and we want to make sure we don't have a free-for-all trying to get $1.5 million. So we'll want to have some order to that. So we will, with consensus, establish that committee. I saw Barney and Kate raise their hand. Luke, yes. And David, yes.
I'd like to discuss it. No, that's a no. That's a
Okay.
doubt. It needs a discussion. I'm not sure it needs a committee. It might be us guys deciding. So I would need more context.
All righty. I will put it
I
on,
can't endorse
put it
a
on
committee.
the, I will put it on the next meeting's agenda.
What's the timing of receiving the funds?
Probably not in the near future.
So yeah, so let's take our
We've got-
time. Let's review the issues. Let's understand what it is we, you know, what it can be used for. Maybe we just decide with ourselves. I'm not sure we need another committee.
Okay.
We're stretching the volunteer fabric quite a bit.
I thought I was voting for putting it on an agenda to discuss, actually.
Yeah, so did I.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will put it on the next meeting's agenda. Thank you, Chief. All righty. Let's go to the, any questions for the chief on LEPC from the board? Hearing none, we'll go to the master plan presentation, the Barrett Planning Group. Welcome.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if Doug is back
Oh, is Doug?
online. I just wanted to give him a shot to.
See if he has audio.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we are,
Yes.
Doug. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I signed back in and I'm on air. So, and I see the board has a full agenda tonight, so I'll keep my presentation here very brief. On behalf of the Celebrations Committee, we're just trying to pull together plans for this year's observance of Memorial Day, which is on Monday, May 31st, and we would like to have the Board of Selectmen or the Select Board's approval. Sorry about that. The Select Board's approval for our plans, which include an entirely outdoor ceremony. Many of you are familiar with us having done observances inside Corey Auditorium, but this year our plan would be relatively simple: flag raising, outdoor ceremony at the flag raising, our traditional parade to the monuments, but keeping everything fairly abbreviated and probably smaller crowds and ending in a much shorter time period. But all of the activities would be held outdoors. I have contacted the chairman of the Board of Health, and we're discussing any particular requirements the Board of Health might have for the event. But we just wanted to make the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, aware of our plan, and hopefully get your endorsement, and hopefully have members of the board participate on that important national holiday.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug from the Select Board? Hearing none, I'll assume that is an approval, Doug. Thank you very much for the work you do on that celebrations committee. Very important. And of course, this year especially, we look for things to celebrate. And celebrating our Memorial Day, our fallen veterans, is one of the most important things we do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doug.
Moving on to the master plan presentation. Who is going to?
I'm going to just make an introduction, Alan, if I could. Thank you.
Recognizing Jack Trost.
Thanks. So I'm pleased
You're muted, Jack.
Sorry.
No, I can hear him.
You can hear him.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were on a minute ago, but now we've lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So it must be you, Alan.
Alan, it may be you because the rest of us can hear him.
So I'm going to keep talking,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
hopefully that will work and people will catch up to my voice. And let me know if you can't hear me, please. I'm here on behalf of the Master Plan Steering Committee. I was pleased to join you all back a couple of months ago, or I guess it was in February. And at that time, I had indicated that we were in the process of engaging a consultant as part of a program that we'd been working with the planning board with for quite some time. And I know both Barney and Kate are on our committee, and I know they were hopefully keeping you apprised of what was going on. In any case, I am very happy to say that we have gone through the procurement process, working with Tim and the planning board, and that we recommended the contract be approved by the Board of Selectmen to engage Barrett Consulting Group. And I was unable to attend your last meeting when it was discussed. So I'm here to answer any questions about process, but I know Judy Barrett is a little short on time, has to go to another meeting this evening. So I'm going to introduce Judy and her colleague, Alexis Lanzalotta, who are both part of the Barrett Consulting Group. And I will just say that we were really pleased as part of our due diligence to find that Judy had been here, done that, in that she had actually gone in two situations, at least, that we followed up with directly, in Lincoln and in Groton, to engage with a community that had a master plan in process. And so we, for that reason and numerous others, are very impressed with Judy and her firm, and happy to have Judy and Alexis here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Jack. Does anybody have any questions? Can you hear me?
Judy, you might want to just speak briefly, just to say hello and then take questions.
Happy to. So I'm Judy Barrett, and as Jack said, my colleague Alexis is with me tonight.
Hi.
I have been in the field for about 34 years. Our practice does a lot of work in community master plans. We also work in housing. We do zoning work. We kind of have a broad practice. And so I worked for a long time for a couple of firms in Boston. I reached the point where I lost patience with that commute. And so I decided to open my own practice kind of closer to home. And it kind of went pretty quickly from being me working in a spare room at my house to having 5.5 employees. So, we're happy to work with you. This is not unfamiliar terrain for us. And we're impressed with the committee. We've met with them. I think there's a good plan in place for here for getting them over the finish line. So we're very happy to join you. We'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the select board?
I just want to say I attended Judy's Working with 40B workshop last week, and I was very impressed with it and learned a lot. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
And I'll just mention that also in the packet that we received earlier, is the actual proposed contract and some attachments that give more detail on what the items are that the Barrett Group would be providing for us.
Yeah, and if I could just comment on that, Barney, the attachment to the contract, the milestone schedule that Judy provided was all part and parcel of a number of conversations with the planning board on how they would like to see the contract done. And Tim was part of those conversations, if not directly, indirectly. So that was part of how the contract was structured with their input.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a presentation that would explain what the contract isn't much help to me. It's the objectives and, why are we doing this? I mean, I guess I don't get it. And I just don't get it. And I was hoping that there would be a presentation.
Well, I'm happy to give you that background, David. I know that this process has been going on for some time, and quite frankly, a lot of it precedes my involvement. But I can tell you that there was after the initial consultant resigned, the planning board appointed under George Mansfield's direction an advisory group. And that advisory group explored 5 options, and they deemed 4 of those options all high risk in terms of how to proceed. And they ranged, from everything to put the plan on hold, start over, request more funding, and try to utilize an all-volunteer effort. And the 5th choice was to hire a project manager planner to work under our existing budget as part of the warrant article. And that option was the only one that was deemed to be feasible. And, the planning board, who we appeared before, I think 5 or 6 times, at least as the advisory group before my involvement. And so I think it's been pretty much the impressions on the part of the steering committee and the entire planning board that this is the best way to try to deliver the master plan by the end of the year.
But, okay, I mean, I was really hoping for, here's what the objectives are, here's what the volunteers can do, here's what they can't do, here's where the consultant steps in. I honestly, without a presentation of that granularity and specificity, I can't support it, and I'm not gonna support it. If you want to table it,
I'm happy.
come back with a presentation, I'm okay with that. But that was my understanding of what we would see tonight. I don't like wasting our time, and I certainly don't like wasting the town's money. And right now I feel we're doing both. So I don't need the words. We need a presentation that's clear. What are the objectives and why are we spending $73,000 on it? And, you know, the other board members can overrule me and that's fine, but I am not going to support it on a conversation. I'm just not. So that's it. I don't have anything else to add tonight.
No, I agree with David. I thought we were getting a presentation. I mean, my concern isn't so much Barrett, it's us.
Yeah,
I
it is
mean,
us. No, it has nothing to
right.
do with Barrett. I'm sure
Right.
she's a
No.
fine young lady and
Right.
does her job well. I get it, but we are not
Yeah.
organized, and that's a lot of money. We can use it for a lot of things. I can't, so that's it.
So would you like me to present the, I'm happy to make the presentation. I see Bob Zog is here. I know he's not here probably.
You know, Jack, don't do it on the fly. Okay, don't do it on the fly.
No, I
We
can
have
do it.
the warrant article. We can have it in the warrant book. That's fine. Come back next time, be organized, be prepared. If you want our endorsement, we can do it then, but I'm not doing it on the fly. This is not how, we shouldn't operate that way. And it should have been clearly communicated that that's what we expect.
That was not communicated to us.
I'm not
at
blaming
any
you.
time.
I'm not blaming you, Jack. I'm just saying, we're not gonna, lack of planning on our part does not constitute urgency on your part. We've got to be organized and as a committee, and right now it's just two of us, but you know, if our committee, if the decision is to vote it forward, there's still 3 other members that can vote it tonight. But if the decision is to wait, I say, do it right, come back, present, be clear on what you're trying to do for the money, why it costs what it costs, what we're gonna get for it. And then, you know, we can have it on the warrant. It won't slow us down a bit, but that's it. That's what.
David, one clarification, excuse me, just one clarification. This is not something that has to go on the warrant.
Yeah,
Well, then
it's
even
not.
better.
No,
So,
no,
okay,
I'm
fine.
just saying it, you know,
Okay,
so we should just clarify that. This is about how we want to use the remaining money that the town meeting authorized 2 years ago. And I guess I'd like to just suggest that I think if we looked at the fee structure, and if Judy was willing to walk through that, looking at the various headings, that would give you an idea of the specific deliverables and what they're, why those are there. Having gone through a process with the planning board and with Jack in terms of, you know, developing this contract. I also want to say that I think it would have, I mean, I thought we were doing what we had discussed 2 weeks ago.
Barney,
when
you
we
talked
said
about
we wanted to-
a presentation.
Yes,
Pretty clear.
and I was thinking that the presentation was the contract and the attached documents. And so, David, no, I just want to make a general point that perhaps it would be helpful for those of you who, you know, are not yet comfortable to have looked at the packet and said, you know, is this all we're getting? Because I assumed that what was in the packet was enough for us to have a good conversation about what the purpose of this is. And I mean, the second point I want to make is I think it's important to remember that it's the planning board that had the responsibility for, even from the beginning, but certainly when the whole master plan restructuring took place, that the planning board was really in charge of that and went through a very rigorous process with this advisory group that Jack was describing to look at what was it that needed to be done and what could be done by volunteers and what would we need a consultant to help us with. And so this comes out of a process that, you know, has already been done very thoroughly. And I understand completely your desire, David, which I share, to make sure that as a select board, we are doing our due diligence before we agree, you know, to a contract of this amount. but I do want to just point out those two things. And um, the other piece of this is that, again, the timing is such that, as the select board has been urging for the last while in terms of getting a master plan done by the end of the year, that 2 weeks is only 2 weeks, but that's kind of what we said 2 weeks ago. So I regret that there wasn't clear enough communication among the 5 of us about what should be happening tonight, because it would have been very simple to
Oh, okay,
have
so
a
we are,
PowerPoint presentation, ask the Barrett Consulting Group and Jack to do that. So
that's certainly, okay, so again, I'm new to this committee, but I've been on lots of committees, and it was pretty clear to me from what I said, and I think others said last meeting, that a presentation was what we expected. However, again, not Jack's issue and not Judy's issue. I think our issue exactly right, which is, we should be clear in ourselves. And so the broader, just to take your point, there's a broader issue about select board organization, and we can take that up again. Maybe we talked about it last summer. I thought we were, I made the point that the packets should be coming earlier and, whatever, but my observation this year has been the packets come the Thursday prior, and they don't always have everything in them. And from my read of the packet, it seemed to me that Barrett Group was going to present. It just seemed that way. Now, again, maybe bad assumption on my part. So if we want to be clearer next year, next cycle, we should be very specific about what goes in, not only what goes in is in the packet. I was, again, I'm sort of observing this year, and I observe that there's a lot that isn't in the packet that comes in during the context of the actual meeting. So that was my assumption, maybe bad assumption, but absolutely, I certainly felt that there was a presentation. So to move to the second point, and again, not their issue, our issue. Second point, you said, and you said your own words, that it should be, what is just what I said before, what do the volunteers do, and what value add will Barrett Group bring, and why? And that is certainly not in the packet of documents. There's no way those things you said are reflected in the packet of documents. And then the final point is the timing. Okay, 2 more weeks. Okay, okay, I don't know what else to say. Take the time, do it right. Let's get it right. That's my position.
So I am pretty comfortable that with Barney's suggestion that if we look at the scope outline that Judy prepared, we can walk the Board of Selectmen through why we need the consultant. And I can draw from both the experience of the advisory group and my experience since then. But basically the bottom line is, and we can go through the details, I think it would be instructive, is that our volunteer group has no experience putting together a master plan. And the master plan, I would point out, is it's very important. Sorry about that. It's very important to note that there are statutory requirements to putting together the master plan, and Tim might be able to talk about that. I know Judy could too. It's not something that every town, does their own version of. The state has specific requirements on the elements that have to be included in the master plan and how the master plan is to be structured. And we have to follow that guidance. And we've been, working closely with George Mansfield and the Board of Selectmen on making sure that we meet those requirements. So the bottom line is, as a volunteer group, we're not in a position to, follow those requirements without the work of the consultant. The town hired, after the Warren article was approved, a consultant, and that didn't work out in part because of the consultant and the relationship with the town, but probably more importantly because of the COVID. situation. And I would just underscore one other thing that Barney mentioned, which is this is not a warrant article. The funds that we are expending, again, subject to a budget approved by the Board of Selectmen, is the funding that was approved by the town in 2019 for the master plan. It is, and quite frankly, any additional funding was an idea rejected by both the advisory group and the steering committee and the planning board as an option to proceed, primarily because the goal is to meet this deadline of trying to have a draft plan in the fall. And, you know, without the support of a consultant, we're not going to be able to achieve that.
Well, Jack, okay, but that's all kind of new information, right? I mean, the fact that the statutory or compliance piece, at least in my recollection, didn't come out in prior conversations. So, you know, I'm going to say it again. I'll just keep saying it. You know, people can vote. We can vote tonight and we'll see where the vote goes, and that's fine. I'm going to be crystal clear on my position. There's a schedule in here called Part 1 fee proposal, and it has, I don't know, 20 line items. I would want to know what's in it. Why are we doing these things? Why, which ones of those are needed for compliance? Blah, blah, blah. Why be, you know, and then there's the overlay, which you yourself mentioned, which is, you know, you tried it once, it didn't work. And now you're trying to, again, with a different consultant, and you're saying, trust me, it'll work. So I don't know how else to convey it. We need to have the information in advance, written down crystal clear in a packet. We can observe it, think of our questions and frame them, and have the presentation and have a Q&A. That's how it works. And I'm not doing it on the fly. I'll listen, but I'm not going to make a decision. I'm not going to change my position based on an on-the-fly conversation. I'm just not, and that's it. So you guys can go ahead and move a vote. Chairman can move a vote, but that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you, David. I mean, I maybe it's because David and I review these things almost daily, right? And not necessarily this, but the thing is, you know, you want to set this one up for success. The first one failed, right? You know, I think there were more factors than just the consultant and COVID, but you know, what contingencies are in place to make sure this doesn't happen again, right? And again, no concern with Barrett. I mean, they're probably a great group to work with. You know, like I said, my concern is more on the town side, and, you know, and how can we ensure that it's successful this time? So, yeah, additional information would certainly be helpful in my opinion.
You're muted, Alan.
My concern is we are micromanaging the planning board who did all these things. Last time we were primarily concerned with budget, which is what we came out of last week, 2 weeks ago's meeting, with a concern, and which was delivered to us in gory detail. And by reading that budget, I get a pretty clear idea of what is going to be done and who's going to do it. So I guess I don't have the same concern that David has. I think we have a fairly clear map ahead of us. I think people did do their due diligence. The master plan committee and the planning board have done this sort of thing, and I don't think they need us second guessing them. And so I guess I am in favor of moving forward, but I certainly understand your concerns.
Okay, it's your call. You're the chair.
Okay. Are we
Defer
ready
to
for a
you.
vote?
And we have to have a motion first.
Yep.
Barney, you gonna move this?
Yeah, I just have to pull it up. Hang on one sec.
I might have it.
Uh,
Okay, I move to award the Town of Carlisle Master Plan Project Program Management Services contract to Barrett Planning Group LLC, PO Box 6338, Plymouth, Massachusetts, 02362, in the amount not to exceed $72,900, subject to approval as to form by Town Council.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar Lilo, nay.
Louis, I.
Odell, nay.
Reed, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. And I do understand the feelings of the dissenters, but we did have a vote, and we will go with that. So, and we want to thank Jack for your work on this, and the Barrett Group. Thank you, and we look forward to
Thank you.
success.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, and
Thank
I
you.
just want to assure the whole board that I will be back to visit with you all and share how things are going, and I'm sure Judy will join me. And we're very pleased to work with the board going forward.
Thank you.
I just want to add that 2 weeks ago, I wasn't able to support this because I had no idea about who the consultant was. Since then, this consultant was introduced to the steering committee and the elements captains of the master plan. And then, of course, I also had an additional contact with the consultant in another program. And so I feel now quite confident that we can move forward with this program and finish up the job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you
just
very
want
much.
to, also, I just as a general point, and David, I'm definitely hearing you on this, is I think we, as a board, need to do better, when we talk about what we want to see happen at the next meeting or a further meeting out, right, about being really clear about what our
I mean,
expectations
it's
are.
always, I would just say as a point of, protocol, again, doesn't have anything to do with this particular issue. We should be getting presentations that are clear in advance, not copies of contracts don't really help. Most 9/10 of it is legal mumbo jumbo. And so we are the executive board of the town. And therefore, when people come to us for money and approval, they should be prepared to make a very clear articulation of why do they need what they need, how much do they need, and what are they going to do with what they need. It's not really that complicated, but it, should be done in a PowerPoint style, because that's the best way to, in my opinion, at least, to convey clear information. And I'm sure, Judy, you've been doing this a long time. I'm sure you're absolutely used to that.
Very.
Yeah.
And I'm not arguing with you on that point either, David. I just think that
I'm okay with the vote. I'm okay. We made our points,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. But I mean, again, like Luke said, it's an internal signal more, and again, because of open meeting law, and I'll just remind everybody, open meeting law, you're seeing the sausage being made. That's what open meeting law is about. So we're showing a seam in our own process where we're not organized, okay, that's
Well,
like
no.
town government. We should
Well.
celebrate the fact that we can openly discuss it, improve our process, and move on. So, good luck, Judy. Good luck, Jack. I hope it works.
Thank you.
We as a select board got to do better, So
Yeah.
that's it.
I just happened to get the privilege of having that, in a way, getting that presentation that was not made to this board.
Well, it'd be nice if we had seen it, but okay.
I
it doesn't
agree.
matter.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you.
All right, let's move on. Thank you. Good discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Insurance Advisory Committee. We have a proposal before us, that recommendation from the Insurance Advisory Committee that we determine the split of health insurance costs between the town and the employees. We had asked for more detail. That detail is in the packet with comparisons with other towns. We don't look particularly good when we compare those, but we do have a proposal before us, and I will accept the motion, which we can then discuss.
I move to amend the healthcare insurance cost split between town and active and retired town employees from a 50-50 split to 55-45, 55% town share and 45% employee share, effective for the June 1, 2021 billing.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll open the floor for discussion.
I do have one comment, and that is on the comparables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the towns pay their retirees the same rate as their actives. And 1, 2, 3, 4 towns pay them, well, I'm sorry, 4 towns, that includes us. But so 3 towns pay them the 50% only. And then they give their active people 75, 75, and 65 percent respectively. So I'm wondering if we want to also consider splitting, leaving the retirees where they are and giving more. Or
What do we know? Maybe it's a Tim question. Do we know what moving the needle on the retirees will do to our OPEB calculation? Will it affect it?
The Kim might know that.
If you do the retirees that are already currently in there, yes, it will affect it larger. If you do anybody currently now that would then retire, like if you sometimes so if you sealed everybody at 50% that's been on it 50%, those would be the largest to increase the OPEB. Anybody going forward now with the split would be nominal.
So do you have
But
any
it
sense,
would
Kim, of
increase. I believe with all the retirees in there, if you were to increase all of them, it would be a high number, closer to the $1 million mark overall for our liability.
the 5% would be $1
Which
million?
is for existing ones. If you were to do it to everybody now and going forward, they had 60, it would be like 37,000. It wouldn't be a big number because you'd have to accumulate it off where
Then you
everybody
have a 2-tier.
Yeah.
What you're suggesting is a 2-tier where the
Some
Okay.
towns will do it like you do in retirement. If you come in at 8%, the new one's coming in at 9, you seal everybody. So you could seal everybody that's already in it and everybody going forward to the 55, or you could have anybody currently that is at 55. If they retired, they drop back down to 50.
What's so how much is our OPEB liability presently?
OPEB liability was it's 20 million still for this year. The trust will go into effect for next fiscal year, and it will drop down to about 9 million.
Really?
So it's
Why is that?
significant. Because the trust was not set up properly, and it was not calculated in as part of OPEB. It was just put out that you could probably even use it for something else. It wasn't totally
So
earmarked.
is,
So it's 9. So you're going from 20 down to 9 million, and you could possibly go up to 10 million.
so is that the overhang or that's the total liability? That's the unfunded portion or the total?
Correct.
Which one is
And
correct?
we're looking at we did some scenarios, and they could at the 9 million, you could fund it at 215,000 over 30 years.
But so I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. The 9 million is
The 9 million, if you want,
unfunded?
is unfunded, correct?
Unfunded, okay.
And we did the projection on that, not over 20.
15K over 30 years.
So
Okay.
when the trust is recognized next June,
Okay.
the new amount will
So if
go.
it went up by 10%,
So it could go, it would,
225 or something.
it'd be 225, correct. If you have the current ones going in, and retiring later on,
So
it's not.
the current ones cost us around 90K, right? Something like that? Is that, or the total cost us 90K? I was looking at this.
For the changeover?
You got there's some scribble at the bottom that
Yep.
says, I presume that's you. Is that you, Kim? At the bottom
Yeah,
of the packet?
so if you took the Minuteman Neshoba quote for the exact number of employees that we have and the rate you would give them, it would be $1,972,000, and Maya is $1,812,000. The savings between the difference is $160,000 at a 50-50 split. You can see at the bottom.
Yeah, I see that. And
Town
then if
share
you-
would be 906. If you change that split to 55-45, that would go to 996.
And that includes the retirees?
That
will pay at
includes
a current-
everybody, correct.
Okay, and which our practice has been to actually, I guess, not increase we're paying as we go on the retirees, so we're not, I mean, demographically, I guess we are, but we're not kind of increasing the OPEB liability as much because we pay each year currently, right?
We do pay as you go, but for the liability forward, you
Okay.
put that on, yeah.
So we're at 90K a year on this side plus say 20K a year on the OPEB side, something like that, right?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And the retirees will still this year, be getting a savings because they will be having a savings. And so it's not like they're not getting anything, but.
Right, I think it's a great question, Kate, and I wish I thought of it, but you did, so thank you. But the,
I think it's active is 8.35%. You see on the left-hand side, retirees 7.94. So
That's the
overall
reduction?
reductions, yep, is 8.13. So.
oh, I see, right. So I guess it's more of an equity, little e equity thing in terms
And
of,
it depends the savings on, depending on which plan that they have. And like Kate said, on the scenario, some towns keep it the same, some towns keep the retirees at 50. Belmont, I don't know if it's recorded on that one. They actually are the only town that pays 50% of the plan, and they pay 50% of the Medicare
Part B.
Part B, and no other town does that.
Hmm.
So that would
Yeah.
bring the savings up.
Chelmsford, okay, they don't go to 50, but Chelmsford is 75%. And for their actives, we're 63%, and then for the retirees, only 60. So it's still less than the active employees.
right,
Same with Westford. So Littleton's the only one that, Littleton, Tewksbury, and MCRS are the only ones that really have this equity across the board, basically.
right. So I think, to me, it really, I think financially, it doesn't make that much difference in a way, but I believe, it's more of a philosophical thing. Do we feel we owe do we want to keep the retirees on parity with the active employees, or we don't? And if we, and there's a multi-tier, now Kim introduced the added wrinkle, which is you could actually have a 3-tier system, which is retirees as of a date continue at one rate, new retirees would be at a second rate, and current employees at a third rate in terms of contribution, right? Which seems somewhat complex, and that one seems sort of unfair, I guess, because that's, so I don't have an opinion. I mean, I think that's the debate point to me.
I guess I will ask if, Kate, do you wish to make an amendment?
Well,
Well,
I'm
it's
not
only if there's
clear.
traction to make an amendment, I guess, right?
Well, actually, I'm not clear on the difference, financial difference with all this long
Well,
answer.
so Kate, it's some, I can explain to you, there's some little piece of the 90K of the annual operating delta that will pay for retirees as you go. And then there's another 20K-ish a year on a 30-year amortization of the increased liability that we'll create. So let's say, I don't know, Kim, what would you say? 20 and 20, maybe it's 40K out of 120K, something like that. I'm just guessing.
It could be, but on the long term, on the OPEB, it's going to raise.
Yeah, the
it.
OPEB is 20. I mean, the OPEB is 20K, so let's just sub, and then some subset of the 90, and I'm gonna just say 20, just as a guess. So, and I guess it's based on nothing. I'm just picking a number. So it could be something like 40K, Kate.
A year.
A year, yeah, a year.
Well, that's a significant amount of money.
I think it's 40K because the 90 is only the town share.
No, but what we're saying, what's the proportion of, by head count, of retirees we pay for versus actives?
There's 61 retirees.
And how many actives?
And then the difference is the active. I'd have to total it.
It's probably close to 300 or 350 actives, because that's how many Christmas cards we gave.
Yeah, it's
Wait, how many current?
it's around 200, 290, I think.
The number I saw just I think today was something like 176, something like that.
Downside or school side?
That's the people that get benefits. Kate, you're looking at the people we thanked, which include people who didn't opt for benefits.
Right.
So 200 versus 60. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong,
No.
260 divided by 90, right? What's that?
Well, let's, maybe we should address the, just kind of the equity question, or
Right.
how we as a group feel about the retirees and current employees. do we think it is, reasonable and fair to have them both, have the town pay the same percentage for
Right.
both
I
groups?
think I agree with you. I think that's the central issue. Let me just
Yeah.
address Kim and Kate's. It's exactly, I mean, I'm not going to give myself credit here, but it's $20,769 for the retirees out of the 90.
Yeah.
So again, what I said, 20K for the retirees plus their OPEB shares, 40K.
And I think
that's-
look
You're
at,
that's-
separating it that way, yeah, because your share will go different.
Yeah, all right, but close enough, right? Close enough. So I think we should talk about the equity issue.
yeah, and if we look at the other towns, we'll still be below what but most of the other towns are.
Well, partly that's why I'm worried, because we want to be raising our current employees a bit more than where we are at, more than the 55 each year. So this is going to get increasingly expensive if we bring the retirees along with them. One of the big reasons to increase the benefits for our employees is because we're having an increasingly hard time to attract good employees because of, we don't pay huge wages and we give lousy benefits. So this is a way to attract better employees. Once, unfortunately, and I hate to sound cold, but once they're retired, we don't need to attract them anymore, so to speak.
No, but we do want to
But we
attract
are-
people who will eventually retire, right? So.
Well, okay, but we are continuing to pay, a benefit of 50% of their health care. And by that point, they're usually on some sort of, Medicare as well. Maybe we could pay 50% of their Part B or something,
Well, so if each, using Kim's math, if each percentage costs us 18K, and that includes retirees, by the way, but
that doesn't,
we
yeah.
could go, we could probably go 2.5% higher. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 57.5% active employees if we, and no change for the retirees if we wanted to keep to that, essentially that ceiling of 996. Or thereabouts, $1 million.
Or as, do like Belmont, add the 50% of the paid Part B, 50 plus 50% of the Part B, which is still less expensive probably than 55.
Well, that's a good idea. How much is that? How much?
Fees about $1,750 a year, right?
Yeah, I don't know I'd have to get numbers on the Part B.
I just had to pay it for new dependents, so I know.
Yeah,
Alan,
somebody may know.
1750 is 100% of the Part B?
Yeah, I think that's what Alan was saying.
Okay, so that means 875 per retiree times 60 retirees, right? So that's more, that's 52K. Yeah, that's more money.
That's more money.
Oh yeah, this is only,
Yeah, okay.
it's not linear. I know it's not linear, but using
Yeah.
linear math, it's only $346 per employee, what we're offering.
Okay, well, of course, Belmont's paying their regular employees 75%, you see,
Yeah.
so then it becomes less money. Yeah. I think still we want to have our eye on the long game, not on the short game. Are we going to continue to raise the benefits for our current employees to, better than 55%? And, is that one of our goals? And how high, I thought we were trying to get to higher than 55% eventually.
I think we just have to thoroughly evaluate. We have to do what's best for Carlisle from a financial perspective. You look at these comps and they all have infrastructure, they all have industry. We don't have that here, right? And while I'd love to give, the employees more, we do have to think about the folks that pay the taxes, and yeah, I don't necessarily think we have an issue hiring people. We don't really post that many positions.
But when you do that, we have one now and it has been a deterrent. I think Tim can speak to that.
That does come up as an issue with in recruitment. It has the past several times we've you know, we're out for position right now and it's an issue.
Yeah,
Sorry, what was that? I'm sorry, no,
your dog was acting up.
yeah, well, yeah, the kids got the dog going. Sorry, so what was that?
That we have had, well, go ahead and repeat yourself, Tim.
Yeah, no, that it is an issue in recruiting people. A lot of people are very surprised when they learn that we're a 50-50 community. In fact, I had that conversation with a number of candidates recently. That was one of the first things I brought up. I said, if this is a deal breaker in any way, tell me now, and we don't have to spend any more time on this. So it does come up, and you know, it does. I would also think increasing the actives by a higher percentage and keeping the retirees at the current 50 might encourage someone to go somewhere else and retire after working for the town, because it's you know, an active employee retires, they might feel like they're losing some ground.
Yeah, I don't think turnover is an issue in Carlisle either. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, I would love to give folks as much as possible, but, you know, again, I think we need to thoroughly evaluate this. You know, before, you know, I'm fine with what Dave was proposing. You know, I think, you know, it makes sense. I think, you know, before we even start talking about considering going up to 60 or 65 or 70, you know, we really need to thoroughly evaluate this. I mean, what can we afford and what will it impact? You know, because we do not have an infinite cash flow. I mean, you know, and you know, and healthcare costs are only going to go up, right? So they go up for the employees, they're going to go up for us too. So that's all.
We have a proposal in the motion. Does somebody want to propose an amendment, or if not, we can call the question?
I just wanted to have that discussion. I thought it was
No, that's
important.
fine. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not going to propose an amendment.
All right. Then I think we're ready for a vote. Roll call vote.
Arnold.
We're voting on 55-45.
And we're voting across the board, including retirements.
Correct.
Arnold, I.
Pascalillo, aye.
Louis, aye.
Modell, I.
Reed, aye.
Thank you very much. Motion passes.
Thank you. I'll have Anish start implementing the new rates in, which are for the next payroll. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Kim.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. All right. Carlisle Garden Club project updates. Who's going to present on that? Okay, Julia.
Let me unmute myself. That will help.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm going to do the presentation, and I think
you can
Jen,
share
you
your
have
screen.
my thing to share. So
You
my
can-
so what I'm here for is we're at a critical turning point on the Rotary, and I really wanted to present what our direction going forward and get your feedback on that general direction, and also talk about some issues we're running into, and ask for your support for possibly accessing some grants. We've had a very difficult fundraising year, and that's going to impact what we can do with the Rotary going forward. So anyway, if you want to start the presentation, I can talk to these points.
Sure.
Is Jen there?
I think I have it. So,
Oh, you have it, Tim. Okay.
yes, just give me a here.
Yeah. What was it called?
Share screen. All right, let's try this.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so you have to move through this. Is that how it works?
Yeah, you just tell me when to advance it.
When to advance. Okay, great.
Yep.
So I think you all are familiar with the Rotary, but you may not be familiar with the background. The statue in the middle of the Rotary honors Civil War veterans and was erected in 1885. The Carlisle Garden Club has had a long and intimate relationship with the Rotary. We planted and maintained it for over 30 years. We supply all the plants and supplies through our own fundraising and all the work through our own volunteerism with, occasional, very welcome support from the DPW. And we feel that we've kept the garden around the statue as a very beautiful support for this iconic symbol of Carlisle and its history. Thank you, Tim. Move on.
Right.
Okay, so as you know, the Complete Streets was finished in the fall. And, we did an assessment afterwards to try to move on for what we need to do within the next year or two. So most of the shrubs were unsalvageable. That was not a surprise to us. We were sort of at a point where many things had become overgrown and possibly insect damaged, and it was time for a pretty major rethink of the Rotary anyway. One of the surprise was the sprinkler system, which I thought we were assured could be retained, but we had Green Lawn look at it at least. They haven't been back to really evaluate, but they didn't see a lot to save there. And let me put a shout out to them. They've given us so much free service that I hesitate to ask them to, whether they would install that system for free. We had at one time asked Complete Streets for a safety perimeter around that would reduce the size of the Rotary and also provide more safety. Right now, it's very hairy to be out on that perimeter weeding with tire tracks right under your feet. So I'll speak to that a little more as I go on. We're a bit time constrained on at least starting this project because we have a grant that has to be used by October 2021. And we've raised an additional roughly $2,000. But the pandemic has really put a stop to our fundraising. So we had hoped to have, 5,000 to 6,000 by now. We're not going to have anywhere close to that. So we've gone to sort of a plan B of having a dream team of garden club members, where we'd hope to maybe outsource some of this project. We're pretty much going to try to do it all ourselves. So thanks, Tim. Move on.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so here's our intent for the Rotary, and I just wanted to pass it by you to make sure there's nothing that's a surprise here. We want to stick to low shrubs, not more than 3 feet high. We want to incorporate some newer varieties. There's been so much innovation in horticulture in the last 20 years and many new varieties that are just really interesting. And we want to focus on natives. We're going to use fewer perennials and keep to ones that don't spread too aggressively. And then we wanted to keep a clear area in front of the statue. This was a request because apparently there are ceremonies occasionally that take place there, and to have a nice area to see the statue was something we had been asked. So we want to have a little pathway to the statue, possibly around the statue so people could read the inscriptions. That's something I'll talk to a little bit more. We want to replace the sprinkler and we want to address that safety edge if we possibly can. So, thanks, Tim.
Cecile, do you want questions as you go or only at the end?
How pertinent to what I'm talking about at the moment?
It's okay, continue.
All right, I'll continue on and then maybe we keep the questions. So the Rotary this winter, I use this shot just because you can really see how the tire tracks are cutting across. you know, the new, this is after Complete Streets, and the new construction hasn't really done too much to convince people not to drive up there. In fact, on this right-hand side, there's actually a tire track now that goes straight across, as though somebody couldn't turn their wheel, you know. So you can kind of see when you're weeding outside that rock area, it's a little hairy. So the rocks have provided a little bit of safety, but you know, it's a little bit of a problem. So move on. Tim. So here's a little bit of what we were thinking about of a perimeter. Ignore the path to the statue. That's not what we're thinking of anymore. And you know, this perimeter, the color, not necessarily that color, but just to give you an idea. The idea is something that would be impervious and completely weed-free. I know Gary is able to do gravel. That's not adequate because it, as you know, if you have gravel by your driveway, it really attracts weeds. The other thing is the planting area here is huge. It's 40 feet across, 1,250 square feet. You know, the footprint of an average size.
It's 50 feet across.
50? Okay. Whatever.
50.
Okay, so whatever, but it's a huge area to weed. So the perimeter would at least make it a more manageable size. Thanks, Tim. So the pathway to the statue, what we're thinking about is we want a respectful approach so that these ceremonies, you know, people can gather and see the statue. We're, you know, after consultation with the Historical Society or
Commission,
we decided fieldstone stepping stones, interplanted with spreading, you know, low perennials like thyme or something like that. And if we continue the path around the statue, we'd be able to see the names of, you know, people who wanted to could see the names and read the inscriptions. Thanks, Tim.
Okay.
So the Historical Commission so far has approved the fieldstone pathway and is considering the other things. Our one concern was they talked about removing the large rocks on the rotary, which we're pretty against, because, you know, they do provide a little barrier from the traffic. And in addition, you know, in New England, if you see a garden, rocks are part of it, and they're beautiful backdrop to plantings. And there's something that doesn't have to be weeded, which, you know, a big plus in our book. So I guess what I'm asking tonight is just that you give us any feedback you have on the plan, you know, what you want to see in the Rotary, what you think of our plan, what we should do about this perimeter. Is that something even to pursue? I mean, it would be thousands of dollars, and the, you know, the garden club really does not have the funds right now to pursue that. If there's anything that can be done about the sprinkler system, I don't know the cost of that yet. They had, you know, Green Lawn had COVID in their office, so they've been closed. So that's been kind of another challenge. And, you know, in general, whether the selectmen would support applying some of the green funds or helping us find other grants that we could continue on with this project. So thank you for your time, and any questions?
From the board members?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
no,
Dave, you
I'm
said,
asking for them.
huh?
I'm asking for any questions from the board members.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David.
Oh, well, first of all, thank you, Cecile. Nice to see you again.
Yeah,
You and I go back a long way.
Mosquito.
Did the sprinkler get killed by the Safe Streets construction? Is that what happened? Or did
Yes.
it just die of old age? Okay.
Yes.
And where does the water come from? Where's the pipe?
So the water is provided by the real estate office there.
Okay.
And we haven't had a chance to check, you know, I mean, I'm kind of assuming up to the Rotary, everything's fine. So it's replacing the rest of it. But
Okay.
as I said, you know, they haven't
But you
had it.
gotta trench out and lay a pipe. I mean,
And lay the-
it's not nothing, right? That's a,
It's not nothing. I mean,
Okay.
I had it done on the Cape recently and it was $2,000. I don't
this will
think
be
it would be anywhere close.
add a
to
zero. Yeah, right. Okay, and then I didn't follow the perimeter, like what is the perimeter?
So
Can
the
I answer that one, Cecile?
What? Okay, sure.
So when you are looking at the rotary, there's a new granite edge all the way around, and that's
Yep.
the one that's 50 feet diameter. You know, any direction it's 50 feet. It's a huge rotary.
Yep,
And we all had before a granite edge, very similar in some ways, but this one is even bigger and
Yeah.
thicker and wonderful. But the tires go right over it. And when they go over it, they squash any plant or mulch or
no,
soil.
I think Allison, I got that part. What is it you're proposing, like a cobblestone? I mean, I was actually surprised, I have to say pleasantly surprised after reading City in the Woods. People, you'd think, you know, we were erecting like a cortina or a fence or something, you know, immigration fence, but the skirt, I guess you call it, is pretty mild, right? That cobblestone
It's flat with, you know, it's just like a pathway or
Right.
a
So what kind of barrier?
sidewalk.
Well, what kind of barrier that won't shred our tires if we happen to hit it? I guess that's maybe.
Well, I wanted to have you think about, if you haven't seen it, you should visit the Infinity Garden, which is behind the First Religious Society. It's a sunken garden.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
And there is, we had the same exact problem with a stone pathway, which is what Gary Davis could provide as his
Yeah.
impervious safety perimeter.
Yeah.
There's an argument whether it be 3 feet wide. I prefer, and I think our committee prefers 4 feet wide because that's how wide the tire tracks are. But anyway, my point of the Infinity Garden is that there is both the problem and the solution right there, because a few years ago, we took out the big infinity loop section and put in a 5 foot wide exposed concrete aggregate pathway because we were being driven crazy. You not only had to weed the whole garden, you had to weed the pathway, and it's the most backbreaking work. We didn't do everything, so you can still today, anytime if the select board want to go down there and look at it again, see the difference between the pathway that is impervious, which for us turned out to be concrete exposed aggregate. What that means is it's a concrete pathway, but right near the end of their letting it dry, they use a water hose and brush away the top layer and fling little river stones on top to give it a nice pebbly, but it's sort of embedded into the concrete, but it's exposed. That's the exposed aggregate. So you can see, and you're walking on, and you can colorize that to be dark gray, light gray, beige, any color. You can choose the color. And for the Infinity Garden, where we have that done, it's beautiful and it's safe and it's handicap accessible and a truck could drive over it. And where we don't have it, it's a total weed zone. It's hideous, it's ugly, and it's if a truck tried to drive over it, it would make big ruts in it.
Right. So is this between the existing sort of cobblestone skirt and
Yes.
where the shrubs are now? And
Yes, what we're saying is that the granite edging that is there, you would take, if it's like thinking of concentric circles, you would take, I would say 4 feet, but other people might argue 3 feet, but just
Okay,
a
okay, I get
perimeter
it.
of
Okay.
pathway that is, it could be the chip seal that you have on all the other pathways nearby, because that is pretty strong. It's asphalt with something on its head to make it
Okay.
look prettier. But when we did it for the First Religious Society, I was part of that project. We chose the exposed aggregate, and I'm not, definitely Gary Davis could not do that. That is just not something that
Okay,
he
I
can
don't need,
handle.
I think I'll defer to other questions. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Have you, we have a lot of landscapers in town. I'm wondering if they have any, surplus or, excess what do you call them? Materials from projects that they've done. I know my neighbor's got, usually has stacks of stuff. He's a landscaper, does hardscapes. I'm wondering if that would be one way of, raising some, if not
We could
funds, in
investigate
kind.
that. I think the concrete is not a big part of the cost. It's the installation. You
Yeah.
need a form that moves. It's very time consuming. I've seen it done.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking more of a, yeah, okay.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah, so I just have a couple. So was HISCOM okay with the exposed aggregate?
They were not wanting to vote on it properly, and we're trying to do it be just what Gary Davis was going to say with the stone dust or the compressed gravel. And I asked them to hold off on that decision. It was not an acceptable one to the garden club.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, just so I'm giving you the heads up, you're going to see mulch appear there very soon. And it's a just holding pattern, because until we can decide what we can afford, what will look good, what the historical commission will approve, what is appropriate, where the money comes from to pay for it, it's just going to be on hold. And we're going to have it be 6 feet of on hold, because when you actually do the work, you need to have machines or big boots or something stomping on all the stuff. So we're not going to plant anywhere within that 6 foot of the edging for at least a year. So we have about a year to figure out, do we get big field stones put in that area and to sort of help stabilize it for a truck to drive over, or do we get a really good quote on exposed aggregate, or does somebody say how much it would cost for chip seal? All of these things could be worked out, but the garden club does not want to have gravel in that area. Even though Gary could do it, it will be so weedy and so hideous and so ugly that it would spoil everything that we've done. So we're pretty darn stubborn about it.
Yeah, well, gravel walks as well. So I don't like the idea of gravel.
Yeah, no, gravel's not a good option. The other thing too is, you call this a safety perimeter, right? And I understand it's kind of like a warning track on a baseball field, right? But I wish Chief Fisher were still here, because, the people that drive up on that rotary.
He is here.
Oh, he is here. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, Chief, because we've had this
He
discussion.
and his shiny head.
Oh, okay. I can only see like 6 people. It's people that can't drive, right? Truck drivers that can't drive. So it's.
And what do you do about that? I
Right,
mean,
no, there's nothing you can do, right? So.
if I go back to that picture, you can see they're skirting the
Yeah.
rocks,
No,
coming as
exactly.
close as they can.
No,
Well,
exactly. So.
You
so
put the
thing is-
stones, move the stones outboard.
Right, because that safety perimeter isn't really safe per se, right? If you move the rocks out, but what, did HISCOM have an issue with the rocks? Were they the ones that wanted the rocks removed?
They started that discussion, and we said a similar thing. I want to be in a conversation with Chief Fisher and whoever else wants to talk about the rocks, because the garden club really wants those rocks to be on the rotary, not necessarily in exactly the configuration they're in now, because 2 of them grew during complete streets. They just popped up, boop, new ones in front of the statue that clearly is not in line with us trying to make the front of the statue be flat and an area for approaching the statue for a ceremony. But they started to argue and insist that the stones be removed. And I want our garden club to be involved with whatever decision is made there. But for the record, we really like those rocks. You don't prune them, you don't water them, they're not too tall. If they were clustered together, they would be more attractive, and they do warn a trucker that you don't just drive over the rotary, it is a circle.
Right. It does, and it does truly add protection, which I think, really the main purpose of this would be. So, and again, it's a conversation with the historical commission, but if safety is really the main issue, then we need to make sure that you guys are safe, and it's not just something that looks nice, but still, causes a
Yeah,
safety.
we welcome any solutions. I mean, one of the things we thought about is, do we move the rocks out to the perimeter? But we've been told before we can't do
Yeah, you
that.
probably can't move them on.
Yeah,
Move them into the skirt, actually, and then it'll really keep people in their lane.
yeah,
But,
that was our thought, but
yeah, no, but that's the thing. I mean, you guys want to be safe out there, and I'm sure there's got to be a happy medium, to protect you guys while you do the wonderful work that you do, and also, make it look like it fits, right? Because that's historic commission's
Right.
concern, is that,
But
it's going to be this.
people
sorry,
need
go
to know that the salt that gets splashed up on the edges makes so that nothing pretty will grow. The only thing that will survive is the world's thuggiest, awful weed. And it will survive where everything else is being killed. Not only the ruts from the truck, but it is a very difficult area to garden in. And so it should be impervious. It can be darker, it can be lighter, it can be a little bit lower than the granite. You can do visual things, although in the winter it's just going to be snow, just so you know. But I think it's not to encourage people to walk on it like a perimeter, like a pathway. It's pretty scary even crossing to the Rotary, but it is very important for maintenance in the garden club, because we're finding that it's harder and harder for us to get members who are willing to be out there on their knees pulling up weeds with, it's just really hard. We need to simplify maintenance, not make it harder.
I wonder if lower actually would discourage people from driving in it. They might feel that if they hit it at the wrong angle, they might not get their wheel back out.
The
Well, that's
trucks
the
just
truck,
don't, the truckers, I was there once when a trucker came right over. I had to leap backwards. I didn't get my phone out fast enough to take the picture, but I have the picture of the ruts they made. They are looking with their front wheels, and it's the back wheels that come and do the damage. So they just don't even see it.
Okay, got it. All right.
Chief,
And they
just wanted
hit
to-
a granite marker very recently that Gary had to put upright, and that was 5 feet
they've
from
done
the
that
edge.
several times, actually.
Yeah, I mean, just recently, since
Yeah.
Complete Streets, it's been hit and put back into vertical. It's not an easy, if it was an easy solution, we would have solved it.
Okay.
Well, it looks like a really good plan. I mean,
I agree.
90% of it looks wonderful. And clearly, I think moving forward with it you'll have the support of the board. How to do it, of course, I think will be an ongoing conversation, at least from what I'm hearing. And I think we need to be imaginative about how we raise money to do it. I think that's
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
important element of it. Clearly, you're going to need some assistance, and that's something we need to work on.
One interesting thing you should probably be aware of as the select board is that, as you know, a community having an event wants to put their sign up on the Rotary. And we had proposed to the Historical Commission that we put a special foundation for their sign to be in one place. And they completely said no to that. And they say that maybe we'll even stop people from putting signs on the Rotary. Maybe they'll put them on the triangles or something. And one of the things you could do, in my opinion, is if you did finally figure out a way to put this perimeter around the edge, that might be where the community sign go, and you don't have to add anything new. So I just wanted you to be aware that the Historical Commission are concerned about signs, and it's your purview, so you have to think about that.
Actually, temporary signs, they have no jurisdiction over. They may
That's
not like
true.
them.
They
but,
also tried to talk to us about plantings, and we had to explain that, sorry,
Yeah.
no, they don't have
They don't
jurisdiction
have
over
jurisdiction
plantings
over
either.
that either.
Any further comments, questions? If
I
not-
mean, one of my questions is, I know at one time the select board talked about limiting signs or doing something more about sign. I mean, there hasn't been any thought that we need to know about.
No,
In terms of signs around the Rotary?
Yeah.
I mean,
that
like
they
the
were kind of
pedestrian crossing
distracting.
signs and the,
I
No,
don't think it would
I'm
affect
talking about
anything we do,
temporary sign.
Cecile, on the Rotary.
no.
Yeah.
I think that's another issue for
Yeah.
for another discussion, but thank you. All right.
Okay.
I think we need to move on, but thank you very much.
Okay,
This is
thank
really
you.
good. By the way, nice presentation. And we appreciate you coming, and we look forward to continuing this discussion to make progress on the project.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Lewis, what is the go forward though? Do we, I mean, for
Pardon
them
me?
to raise money, or what is the action that comes out of this?
I think there is just further discussions that have to be made. We need to know what how the plan develops. There's not a complete plan at the moment.
No, I know, but is it for the garden club to go? I mean, I didn't hear any direction given. Nice plan, but as you say, there's all these, approvals and safety issues. What, is there a sequence to that? Is it the garden club's responsibility to develop it, or what?
Well, I think that's kind of our question is, this is starting to be a project beyond what we can really manage.
Well, I think we'll if you're not going to, I mean, if it's going to be passed to somebody else, which may include even the select board, then
Mhm.
somebody has to make that proposal.
Yeah,
Right. There wasn't, I guess what Alan's saying, Cecile, is there wasn't an ask in this. This was just informational.
yeah, it was. With the
Do you-
thought that
what's
you
your ask?
probably want to know what's going on there since it's been sitting, this
Right.
year.
No, but I mean, do you have an ask, or you're going to come back with it?
Well, no, it was more an idea of keeping you informed, and there may be an ask coming up.
Okay, then I'm fine. Then
And
what Alan said
also
is
keep your eyes open for any grants that you think would apply to us,
Well,
because
yeah,
that
I
would
mean-
certainly help us
I
a
think-
lot.
Yeah, I think we're more inbox, outbox people. I mean, yes, of course, but I think
Yeah,
you guys would have to start looking for grants and think about grants. And I guess you could certainly consult with other people around town who are good at sniffing out grants, and there are a number of them, but
yeah.
I think.
And at some point, we were talking about having a grants person working for the town. That's
Yeah.
again another another discussion.
You might
Yes.
do some web searching and also reach out.
We have.
Is there somebody on the select board who might want to liaise, it's my project, I'm the project manager, I'm the one who's agitating. Cecile is involved with the garden club, she's the chair of the civic committee, but I'm on the Rotary Restoration Committee. I'd love to work with anyone to move this forward, because it's a funding issue and it's a materials issue. I don't mind going to the Historical Commission. I've done it many times. I'll do it again. But I'm looking for, can I bother Tim Goddard? Can you help us? Who do I bother? Who do I have
He
help?
can probably steer you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
just
a good
one,
place to start. I think that's a good place to start.
and one suggestion in terms of money, and maybe you've already done this, but I just wonder if there might be some funds within either the state, Environmental Protection Agency, or green money, because what you're doing is, preserving the, the rotary and the plantings, et cetera. And the other thing to think about is down the road, is this something, because it is a historic statue, that you could get CPA funds for, right?
That's a good idea. That's a
Yeah.
very good idea.
That is a good idea.
Lucas,
I
know
think it's
what that
considered
is?
maintenance.
Oh.
Yeah, the rotary itself isn't. If it were for the statue, then.
at this point, I don't think it's at maintenance anymore, Luke, since it's all destroyed. This would be re-establishing it.
But what? The rotary?
Well,
The
it's like a
statue.
Veterans Memorial, you have plantings and those get paid for.
The monument.
Yeah, it's a
Well, the
monument.
monument, yeah, but that,
It's a thought.
I think it's a stretch, but okay.
All right, thank you. We do need to move on.
Yep,
and
thank you.
Please do keep us informed. And again, I think you've already seen some interest expressed, so hopefully we'll
Yeah.
make some
Great.
progress. Thank you. All right, let's move on to town meeting, town election issues. Peggy, good evening.
Hi.
Hi, Peggy.
Thank you for providing the proposed schedule, which was in our packet. And I'll turn it over to you for the moment, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I am proposing and recommending the elimination of the nominating caucus for the annual town elections. I've given you a schedule that would have nomination papers ready May the 4th, and that they'd be returned by May the 19th and fully certified by May the 20th. And then a date of June the 7th that we would have early voting by mail ballots available, and the schedule for early voting in person. And all of this is based on an annual town election date of June the 22nd. I'm proposing this because we've been given an opportunity by the Commonwealth to eliminate the caucus and replace it with the nomination papers, and only required 10 signatures. The caucus last year was very costly the way that we did it. We still needed 25 people. If we have the caucus live, we'd still would need 25 people present. And I think that we're being challenged all the time to try to do things differently. And not continuing to do them the same way just because that's always the way we've done it. Given this opportunity, I'd like to see us go with the nomination papers and eliminate the caucus this year.
Thank you. Discussion.
And Peggy, would this be just a one time only because this is a special allowance because of COVID, or would this be something that might continue in future years?
Right now, it's just the one time because that's the way acts of 2021 were written, to only allow it for this time. But the town could look at eliminating the caucus in the future, but that would have to go to town meeting, if I'm correct, Tim, to be voted on to permanently eliminate the caucus and do everything through nomination papers.
But we wouldn't have to do that this year because there's a special allowance being made?
Yes.
I see.
It would be based totally on the vote of the select board.
Okay.
Just you mentioned the cost of the caucus. Could you explain that, why that's so expensive?
Well, we had a lot of police officers and fire on site for it. I don't know what the cost of it was, but I mean, there were probably 5 fire people, 5 to 8 fire people, and 4 police officers. That was
held in the parking lot, correct? At the Congregational Church?
That was in the parking lot at the Congregational Church, right? Yep.
Thank you. That reminded me of.
But why so many, you think?
Well, we were
that
concerned
first-
about social distancing, and so the cars needed to be parked a particular way. We had microphone issues to try to get people so they could be heard. So that was a plan that was devised. And by the way, it works very successfully.
No, it actually worked out pretty well. I guess I'm fine with a 1-year pass. I think it's worth, if it's a 1 year and that's it, then fine. I think if it's a longer term thing, we have to think about what we like and don't like about the caucus process is itself an interesting process, right? So
yeah, I get the concern that I have, and that I've heard others raise, and I've done some polling of people to do this, is the concern, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but it's something that gives you pause, is with a passive nomination process where people have to essentially get their signatures and submit it on paper, that there may be an increased number of unfilled positions where people are not running because they don't want to go to the effort of doing that. And that's the primary concern. I'm not sure that's going to happen here. We do have a fair number of open slots this year, but it's something that has been raised, and I thought I ought to raise it here as well. But I don't know that it's necessary to, or that would ever happen.
I think actually what I worry about is it's almost, I worry about that, but I worry about the other part that, you know, when you know you're going to the caucus, you start, you know, asking, well, who's running for what? And then if you find that there are, you know, there's some people that find if there are vacant positions, they start actually recruiting people that they could nominate there, or they, so I'm worried that without this recruitment effort, we're going to go with a lot of unfilled slots for election, but we could try it. Let's see how it works. Maybe, you know, maybe it'll
Mr.
be easier.
Moderator,
Actually, let me speak as a citizen and candidate rather than in my role as moderator. Why not just do it in the school auditorium? We normally only have 25 to 30 people showing up at the caucus. You can do it with plenty of social distance in the school auditorium, and the only thing you're changing is the location from the place where we normally do it. There's plenty of space that people can be 12 feet apart.
And enough of us are now vaccinated that we can. even
And
be
yeah, and
closer.
many people are vaccinated. And I, just speaking personally, I think my approach to this is do the minimum change needed to accommodate the situation that we're in. And to me, moving the location rather than changing the overall process is the minimum needed.
It hadn't occurred to me to do it. in the auditory.
other
I think that's
discussion?
an excellent idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. And I think there's something important about the in-person process.
Yeah.
I understand, Peggy, why you might want to do it this way or might be recommending we do it this way. But given that we can work around the COVID concerns and, with Wayne's suggestion of a different location, I assume that would not cost us. We would not have to have special police details. Chief Fisher could comment on that. Yeah, he's saying, yeah, that's correct. So I think it's an important part of the election process in our town. And if we could do it, I would rather see us continue.
Other comments?
Yeah, I agree with the in-person, and I always like it when you're sitting there, right, and somebody's making a phone call or sending a text, to say, I think you were nominated that way, Al, right? Did you even know?
Except I didn't know.
What's that? Yeah, no, and I agree. And it gets people excited. It gets people engaged, and because it is such a small number, I think. Yeah, we don't really sell out, right? Right.
Yeah.
But, and to Kate's point, right? We have boards that are hard to fill. There's always vacancies with planning, right? And yeah, if we just get write-ins, how hard is it going to be to get the write-ins even after the fact? So yeah, I'm in favor of in-person if we could do it that way.
I agree with all the comments.
Well, I think we have consensus on that.
So,
Good.
sorry, Peggy.
We need to set a date
Set a date for what?
for an in-person caucus.
I think
Yeah,
you need to
if we
set
go
it.
If we
Excuse
go with the election on the 22nd, Peggy, when would you want to have when would the caucus make sense?
If you eliminate, the caucus has to be 38 days before the election. So the latest date it could be was May the 10th.
Wow, that's quick.
So that would
Yes.
be, wow, that would be Monday. I mean, 2 weeks from this past Monday, right?
That's right.
Yep.
If you want to have the election then on June the 29th, the caucus would have to be by the May the 17th. So you haven't chosen an election date yet.
And the school gets out when? On the 18th, right, of June?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask what the problem is with having it on May the 10th?
It's just soon.
True, but we can
Well, but the thing is, if we were doing nomination papers, that was May the 4th. People, and nobody knows about this yet. So I don't
Right.
see that that's any sooner than May 4th.
But May the 4th is when the nomination papers would be available.
I just,
They
I
have to be
understand.
back here for certification on May the 19th,
Right.
34 days before the election.
And you said the other one had to be 38 days. The caucus has to be 38 days before the
Yes,
election.
yes.
So that's 4 days before the 19th. So 4 days before the 19th is the 15th, not the 10th.
Well, excuse me, it's 30, between 32 and 36 days for the nomination forms to be returned. So I don't understand your question.
Oh,
So
I see what you're, okay, but that, yes, but you said that 36 to 32 days before the town election. You said 34 days.
I went with 34,
You went, so 34 days is May the 19th. Is that correct?
if we have an election on June the 22nd, yes.
Okay, so 38 days before June 22nd is 4 days before May 19th, which is May 15th.
Right. And that's a Saturday.
And that's
Because haven't we
Saturday.
generally had the caucus on a weekend?
Yes, we usually have it on Saturday.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the caucus has generally been during the week.
On a Monday, it's usually on a Monday.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
But it doesn't have to be.
But I mean, that's a question, really, that's a question as to when would you get participation in the COVID rule?
Yeah.
I mean, I like what Wayne came up with, but you know, if we have 6 people show up, it's not helpful, so. Is it better to have it on a weekend or a weekday? I have no idea.
well, the one that we had held outdoors was on a weekend, I'm sure. That was a Saturday.
No, that was, it was a
Wayne's
week, it
shaking
was
his
a
head.
weekday.
It
Yeah,
was
it
a
was a
weekday as
weekday.
well?
It was a weekday last year.
It was very well attended.
Yeah.
It was. It was during the day and not in the evening.
No, it was at the early evening.
Was it in the early evening?
We didn't want to have it too late because we didn't want to have too many mosquitoes out. We wanted to have it after work. So people
Okay.
who were working could come. So it was a weekday in, I would say 6 o'clock, 5:36.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact time.
At any rate, if we did it then Thursday, the 13th,
We'd have to check with the school,
we'd have to check with the school.
but it could be any time between the 10th and the 15th.
Yeah. We have a board meeting on the 11th, so hopefully it would be over before the board meeting.
I
Well,
think the
shall
school
we,
would be fine if it was like 6 o'clock or 5 or whatever.
Yeah, if we did it,
Yeah. Doesn't usually take too long.
no.
Do we set it tonight? Sounds like we should, right?
Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah. so if
So-
we agree that the election would be on the 22nd of June, do we want to then propose, pending approval from the school about the availability of the auditorium, propose that Thursday, May 13th be the caucus at,
And that gives enough time?
I think so.
That gives them a week for certification, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that right, Peggy?
What certification?
Well, I don't know. Once people are people who are nominated at caucus, remind me, people who are nominated at caucus fill out some paperwork right there, then and there typically, right?
They can if they're present. They have till the next day to sign and say that they accept the nomination.
Right. So if we
Then
don't
there-
get, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Then if after the caucus, you're still allowed to submit nomination papers. So that you, at the caucus, we do 2 candidates.
Right.
If we want to, if somebody wants to be a 3rd, a 4th, or the 5th, they do nomination papers, and then they have to get the nomination papers in a certain time period. So those are certified.
Right, so that's what I guess that's what I was saying, and I'm not so much worried about a 3rd or 4th nominee as I am, to Kate's point, a 0 or a 1 nominee where nobody volunteered at caucus. That there's still, by that calendar, there would still be a week. If I understand your timetable on the papers here, if we had on the 13th, there'd be a week for us or other people to go get signatures on a form and turn it in, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that's okay. I think that's fine, in my opinion.
So shall we propose the 13th,
Yeah, what day of the week is the 13th?
Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay. Does it interfere with any boards? I guess it doesn't matter, right?
No, I have a,
I don't think boards can meet during the caucus. They have to meet afterward. I can remember the finance committee having to meet after the caucus
yeah.
on Mondays.
Okay, all right, so we'd have to just notify any boards affected. What boards meet on Thursdays, Tim, typically?
Conscom is the only one that comes to mind. The
Okay,
Conservation
all right.
Commission.
yeah.
All right, then let's do, I think it sounds like a good idea to me.
Okay. 13th it is.
We just gotta run, but on the school thing, I said
We'll have
flippantly,
to go through the school. Yeah.
the school would approve, but I don't know what the school may have, well, they're not having any events now. There's no plays or anything, right? So, okay, very good.
Okay, and all
Does it-
the other dates, I think all look pretty good, and they back up from the election.
Yeah, I think the rest of your dates still work.
So
Well,
we don't need to vote this.
All those proposed schedule, revolves around the caucus and and the election date, right? So the early voting ballots being available and early voting in person, yes.
All those dates can stand.
Yeah. And even the nomination forms still work. We have a caucus on the 13th, and you have more than 2 individuals for 1 slot, the 3rd individual can get their nomination, or or if people want to up themselves for whatever reasons, they still have until May 19th to do that.
Yeah. Okay, do we need a vote?
Yes, you need a vote.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry,
I will-
you only need a vote if you intend to eliminate the caucus. So you do not intend to eliminate the caucus.
It's correct.
Okay, then I think we're all set.
But it looks like we do need to move to schedule the town meeting.
Yeah, but that's something else. That's a different.
I mean, not town meeting, the annual election.
Yes.
There's a motion in our packet about scheduling the annual town election. So do we need to do that?
Well, let's do it in case we do.
I think it's part of the same warrant as the town meeting.
Right,
That's why the motion's in there, because when you close the warrant, you set the town meeting date and the town election date.
Right.
In the same
Okay.
warrant.
Okay, even though there are 2 different motions on this,
There's actually 3 of them.
on our packet. Okay,
So there's no vote necessary to establish the date of the town meeting.
well, we've already done
in
that. But the
I
town
mean, excuse me, the
election,
town election, sorry. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Bernie. Yeah.
Okay, are we set? I think so. All right. Thank you, Peggy.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep. Okay, moving on to discussion of new town committees.
Are we gonna do
The warrant,
the warrant?
that's why.
Oh, there we go. Close it. We have to go. Oh, there you go. All right, I missed that one. Yep. Do we have a motion to close the 2021 annual town meeting warrant?
I think I would like to, we have never stepped through that together, that warrant. Before we do that, I would entertain a motion. I would like to at least have read it together.
Let's have a motion and then we can discuss the motion.
Okay, I move that we close the 2021 annual town meeting warrant to be held on Sunday, June 6th, 2021 at, what time did we say?
Fine, I think.
I think we said 1 o'clock, didn't we? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
At 1 o'clock in the afternoon at the outdoor plaza adjacent to the Spalding Building at the Carlisle Public School at 83 Church Street.
And do I have a second?
let me see. I'll second it.
Okay, now we can discuss it. Thank you.
There's a couple of hands up. I don't know if they're for this discussion or if they've just forgotten their hands up.
I guess
Did Wayne and
I
Jeannie-
think Wayne,
Wayne and Jeannie, okay. Wayne, go ahead.
No, that was from before.
okay.
Sorry.
Jeannie Janesco.
Jeannie,
Jeannie, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Kate may have answered my question for me. The articles, I'm assuming you're going to go through the articles 1 through 23, which 23 is a potential, and I'm wondering if that's going to be discussed tonight, if you're going to close the warrant. I am not that familiar with all the procedures as much as you've seen my name on the screen. So I'd like to know what the placeholder is for, I think the number is Article 23. And if it's going to be discussed tonight, and is it firmly put onto the warrant, or is it something that you can erase or delete? Because I haven't heard any discussion of that particular topic at all at the Board of Selectmen meetings, Select Board meetings.
We will be going through them now. That's what we're going to be doing.
Okay, thank you.
and Jeannie, just also to clarify, tonight, the wording of the exact of the articles is not yet exact. This is still a draft. But what we're deciding is, will the article be on the warrant or not? And even if a warrant, an article is on the warrant, sometimes it's not then moved at town meeting. So sometimes an article might be put in for, let's say, insurance, but then it's not moved. So just to let you know that in advance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're open for discussion.
Okay. Well,
We'll be marching through and then we can,
yeah. I mean, we always have a consent agenda article. I think we could safely consider, leaving that in there.
I have one question on that, though, about the salary under Article 3, the salaries of elected officials. And, the version I'm looking at has the town clerk highlighted in yellow. So we don't actually have a number yet. Is that right, Tim? For what?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's the same number that was voted last year.
Yeah. So just, I mean, it makes sense to have this in here. But do we have any sense of the how are we resolving what the town clerk salary proposal will be? Who's doing that?
Well, I think Peggy's not on the call any longer. Peggy presented to the board salaries of town clerks in the comparable communities that are used as part of the wage study, the same communities we use to set salaries town-wide. And the average, which is what we usually use in setting salaries, we go for the median of the range. The average of existing clerk salaries in the comparable communities we use was about $75,000 annually. And it makes sense in a way because the town clerk in Carlisle is not on the wage and salary chart because it's an elected position. So the position doesn't get steps every 3 years. And it wasn't part of the wage study that kind of, normalized salaries town-wide. So it's not surprising that the salary would lag behind the marketplace, so to speak, because it doesn't get the benefit of the steps every 3 years. It does get the COLA. That's been the practice, but so you would, I would suspect that the town clerk salary would be a little bit behind the marketplace. So
Who sets it, Tim?
who sets the salary?
The town clerk's salary.
Town meeting does.
Yeah, well, it's as an elected official, it has to be voted by town meeting.
Let me rephrase, sorry. Who recommends? Who sets the recommendation?
It's the Board of Selectmen's warrant. I suppose in consultation with the Finance Committee, they haven't. I
So
know
we
they-
haven't resolved that, right?
We
I
have not.
remember the discussion, but
Right, it's not resolved.
And
So
I
that's
thought,
on our-
Tim, I thought we had said that you were going to, I mean, I know the personnel board's not been meeting, but you were going to look at it as if this were a town employee position to see where it would come out on
Mhm.
our own, scale. And have you
Yes.
had a chance to do that?
Yes, the personnel board graded the job description for town clerk as a grade 10 position, and the salary range there is about 89,000 to, I think, 102.
well, let me,
something like
can
that.
I make a suggestion? The numbers and the wording is not being debated tonight, and it's 9 o'clock, right? So it's obviously going to be on the warrant. We still have
Right.
time to do that little
Two.
piece, right?
Correct,
So
Yeah.
can we
Right.
table
think
the
we should not give,
discussion of it?
right.
I just want to add one thing on that, David, and this was based on talking to Wayne, and if Wayne's still on the call, he could chime in. But when I asked him about this, his suggestion was that if it was a significant increase, like more than 2 or 3%, it probably would make sense to have it as a separate article. And again, so I don't know if we need to decide that particular thing
Well,
tonight.
it sounds
or
like it's
just know-
going to be. So is that a town council thing? I mean,
You could remove it from the consent agenda, I suppose, and just vote it as you would any other article. Is that maybe, I'll let Wayne speak for himself. Maybe that's what he was suggesting.
Yes, actually, that is what I was suggesting. The idea behind the consent agenda is that it's supposed to be articles that are non-controversial. And, so an increase that is, looks normal would be non-controversial. If you're increasing it by, 10% or more, that's unusual, and at least in percentage terms. So it really wouldn't be appropriate for consent agenda anyway.
Yeah.
So we should make that a separate article.
Yeah, and don't forget the other thing about warrant articles is that they are simply to apprise the public of what the subject matter is, and there's frankly leeway about how detailed you need to be. When you put the budget in, you don't actually say, you don't put all the detail in. That comes later, and so if you want, you can just have an article that says to set the salary for the town clerk.
okay. So it's not in this packet which items are going to be proposed as part of the consent agenda. That happens that night.
No, it is in the packet.
is, yeah.
Normally we do.
Where did
say-
I
At
didn't,
the beginning, David.
It's the first 8 articles, 2 through 8. One
where
is
does it say?
The
that?
articles that have double stars,
double
town
asterisk.
reports,
Oh,
salary
okay.
budget, okay?
How does
Article
one, how does
two-
one know that reading this warrant, I guess?
It's in the. it's
Right
in
at the beginning, number
yeah.
1, Article 1.
I can
says-
read number 1. It doesn't cite articles 2 through 8, though, at least in the
Yeah,
version.
it-
Oh, I
it's-
see. I
it's
get it. I
explained
get it.
earlier in the consent
I get it.
agenda.
Okay, I got it. I
section.
got it. I got it.
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. All right. So
Okay,
we would,
so-
so we're gonna make a separate article out of the town clerk salary.
Okay,
Okay,
So two would, 3 would stay in there, but town clerk would be removed.
that's what I.
Unless we
Yep.
want to give the moderator a proportional percent increase that we give the town.
Yeah, I want to add the selectmen on there, the select board.
You can give the selectmen a 25% increase.
25% raise?
Yep.
Okay, okay. 25%
Yeah,
of
careful,
0.
careful. Alan's a
How much is that?
PhD, so he knows that 0 times 1.45 is still 0. Okay.
It's infinity.
It's 0.
0. It's not
It's
infinity.
still there. Well, I know, but
The amount of time.
I
is
wanted to
infinity.
see who would buy that, you know?
It's
All
actually,
righty.
it's an
Let's-
imaginary number because it's on a dollars per hour, it's divided by infinity.
Yes, all right.
Okay, does anybody have an issue with anything else in the consent agenda through Article 8?
No.
They're all standard.
5, 6, 7, and 8, department revolving funds. No, I don't.
Article 9.
Peg. I don't have a problem with that.
No.
We do this every year, right?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's still in the consent agenda.
Article 10.
That's housekeeping.
Housekeeping, right? Agreed.
right.
11 is the operating budget, which we always put in every year.
Now you
We
have
don't care about, I
12
mean,
seconds.
12 is special appropriations, and they're highlighted for some reason. We always do these every
The
year.
numbers change.
The numbers changed? Okay,
There's normally, yeah, there's normally one for the Council on Aging. That's been eliminated from this article,
right. Okay,
but the rest is the same. Yeah,
the rest was, yeah. 13 is capital equipment.
correct.
14 is municipal facilities. My only question for municipal facilities, last year we took out the little chart. Clearly this chart does not
Hey.
to 500,000. Do we still want to have that chart in there?
You don't have to.
I'm worried that, you know, people will be confused by it.
Which chart? You mean the list here?
Yes,
So you don't want the itemization of what they're spending the money on?
you know, we didn't have it in last time. I don't, it's a bunch of projects, you know, these are just illustrative of what, you know,
Okay, then take it out.
They
yeah.
often don't wind up spending the money on those projects.
and often we don't, yes, exactly, because something else worse happens, and so these all have to be put off.
All right, then take it out.
And then people
Take
say,
it out.
well, why didn't you fix the other things? And, you know,
All right.
it's,
No, you convinced me. Take it out.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because this has the new and expanded salt shed in there and,
Right,
right?
You
and-
know, it'll just stretch town meeting because somebody will take
Right.
exception and then there'll be a
Yeah.
debate about why we're doing it. Okay, so
Yeah.
take it.
all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Article 15, that's yours, Luke. I think we should boot Luke this year and not have an Article 15.
Yeah. So Luke,
Oh, that's
EPA is
fine.
gonna come up with its list when?
So we're meeting again probably next week. We had our initial discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like pretty much everything will move forward except maybe a portion of one of the asks. But yeah, we'll meet again. Excuse me, next week. We're gonna ask for we asked for a little more information on a couple of them. But yeah, it should be within the next couple of weeks.
So are you guys gonna recommend Greenough Dam funded through CPA?
So based on the discussion, I don't want to speak for the committee. But based on the discussion last time, there seemed to be general support for it. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
It's good. It's Article 16 is establishing the new committee for town governance task force. I want to let everybody know if they've read that article. That's not the most recent version of the draft warrant article.
But there will be Article 16.
There will be a- there'll be a-
There will be an Article 16.
Yep.
Okay,
And does that one require a 2/3 vote? Or is it
No.
straight?
I
no,
wouldn't think.
Majority.
it's because it's not a bylaw change, it's just setting up.
Yeah.
Article 17, amend the Carlisle zoning bylaws. Oh, yes, this should be fun.
So had
Oh,
we,
I thought we did this one. What?
Well, we
Did we
did,
do it
we
wrong?
did and we didn't. The planning board actually never had the required public hearing on it because it's a zoning change.
Ah.
So it, we did
It's not
vote
a
it,
zoning change, it's a bylaw change.
change, it's a change to the zoning
Okay.
bylaw, so I guess we should have caught that, but we did vote at a town meeting, so I
Oh.
suspect it will pass again, but
Okay.
Oh, I see.
they'll have the hearing,
This is, okay. So they're gonna have the hearing on this?
right.
Okay. Amend the Carlisle general bylaws, personnel bylaw revision. I think this is gonna be an excellent revision. We're going from 16 pages to 3 paragraphs. They somehow had adopted the whole policy as the bylaw, and we got rid of the policy and just put a bylaw in.
That stays.
Mhm.
And then 19 will be the marijuana ban.
Mhm.
Planning board.
Yes.
And that's 19. 20 is the Carlisle Affordable Housing Trust. Apparently, when in 06, the Article 25 said that we could set up a trust, but then it was never put into the bylaw. So this is to put the trust into the bylaw. And this again also is not the most recent version of the draft warrant article.
And you might just want to note that the bylaw will suggest that the board is there's only one member of the select board.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing, yeah,
Yeah, that'll be on
pointing
it.
out.
Yeah.
But since 4 of us are already on it, we already knew that. Alan, we're only gonna have one selectman.
Understand. I knew that.
Alan didn't share our pain.
Yes.
I have shared it in the past, however.
Yes. Article 21, funding for public safety architectural programming study. Do we have any idea how much this is going to be? And I know this is also, a draft, but I have a problem with the way this particular article is worded. So, I mean,
Yeah, I do too, but I assume this will be redone,
well,
revised.
Well, we won't need to have final language until 2 weeks from tonight.
yeah,
So
but
there's time to revise it. Wayne, in fact, sent an edit to it earlier in the week that I don't think it's in the version in front of you, but
no,
but there's time to revise it.
all right.
So we're gonna do this in advance of this task force meeting, I guess, right?
So can I ask that any changes in any of these articles be presented to us at our next meeting so that we have 2 meetings, right? Before this is totally closed?
No, not if you close the warrant tonight and you finalize language at the meeting on the 11th in order to make the publication deadlines and so forth. So
Okay,
you
then,
have to have it wrapped up by the next meeting.
well, let me put it to you this way then. I don't want to not have a chance to discuss these and not have a long enough time to read them before the next meeting. So, I mean, I don't want to get these Thursday night before the meeting, and then none of us have a chance to talk about the language and iron out whatever problems there might be. Because we can't, and I don't see how we can do that.
Well, that's what the
So-
meeting's for. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, you're in, I take it what you're saying, Tim. So you're in or you're out on this warrant like tonight, right? In other words,
that's correct, yeah.
if we don't include something,
Well, you know, you could still drop it 2 weeks from now if there was an agreement on the language and, you know, you could,
so you can drop, but you cannot add after tonight.
Yeah,
you could reopen it for the purposes of deleting a certain article if the board was not comfortable going forward with
Okay,
it.
and the drop deadline for like actually printing a warrant booklet is when?
Shortly after I would say that week, the week of May 10th. We'd
And our
like to
next
go
meeting
to the
is what?
printer.
Is,
The
May
11th.
so we don't have an, we're
There's
meeting
not-
too late to make changes? Is that what you're saying?
No, he's saying
Any-
after our meeting on the 11th, the book will go to print shortly
Oh,
thereafter.
okay, so we have one
Yeah.
more meeting to finalize the language.
Yeah, right. We'd make any changes the board
Which
made that
includes
night.
all the
Right.
numbers. Okay.
Yes.
So that means that so far, the only thing, there's maybe some budget numbers that FinCom comes back with, I guess, right? But
Right. They're meeting tomorrow night.
there's the town clerk salary. We have to have that discussion and a proposal made. We have to do all that in one night, right?
Yes.
That is abandoning, the usual provision of, but it doesn't matter. So we have to set that on that night. And then it sounds like we have to decide, and this is the one I'm confused about, is whether we're actually gonna move to have this funding, or we landed on setting up a commission or a task force that would study it, and then they could decide and set that up for fall town meeting.
well, I think the task force will need the support of a consultant.
Oh, but that's a different thing. That's a different thing. This
I know,
is,
but I
this is
understand,
a
but
study of a building that the consultant will decide what's in the building.
yeah, no, that's why, so
That's
I think we
precisely
need to
why
have
we're
an
going-
article for funding, for studying,
Right, yeah.
public safety facilities or whatever,
Right.
however you want. but
Right,
not-
we have to give them a fund to be able to.
Right,
Let me see if I have this right. The select board creates unlike the other task force in the prior article, which is the town moderators to form, and I guess hence the article. We are within our purview to form such task force without a town meeting article, but if we want to fund it, we need an article. Is that right?
yeah,
Mhm.
And Kate's point, I think, is that this language suggests it's much more than
Right, I agree.
studying.
Actually,
And so
not the building.
we just
Right.
need to change the language on
All
this.
right, so let's keep the article and somebody's got to change it to be more broad
Have to
about
rewrite this
supporting
up.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. I got
okay,
it. Yep,
so we keep 21.
yep.
22 is salary wage study update. We really should be doing this yearly, and it's actually now we just passed the new personnel bylaw, and it's actually in the new personnel bylaw that we have to do this. So we got to do this one. We can't. This is not negotiable.
Is this to fund a study, or this is the study itself?
Sorry,
This is,
Article 22.
Yeah,
Is to do the study.
it's to fund the study, to actually initiate a study.
No, actually, what's required, maybe the language isn't that precise. We need to have town meeting vote annually on the actual wage and salary chart, the table.
All right, so a table is going to be put in the warrant?
Yes, yes. And it will
The as
reflect,
is table.
it'll reflect the 2% COLA
Okay,
for all steps and grades, and
got it. Okay, and we
This
voted
is
that.
not a new study.
we've done it.
Eventually, we will need a new study, but this is not it. This is going to be something that you'll see every year now.
Okay.
Maybe we should be
Okay.
able to put it in the housekeeping stuff in the consent agendas, but this year is the first one. I
Yeah,
think it
maybe
should be in
for
there.
this-
If we wanted a new study, we would have to have an article to have some funding, or we'd
That's-
have to have a line item in the budget for that.
That's right.
And we have neither of those.
That's
Right,
correct.
right.
Okay.
The finance committee didn't fund that. I made that
Okay.
request to them, but they didn't fund it, so
Okay, fair enough. Got it.
just a table. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And then 23 is the one that Jeannie's been waiting for.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think the question here, I'll just jump in here for a minute if I might. You've all seen the proposal from David Friedman. Just a little bit of background. So all of us were on the board except David, I think, when we went through an arduous series of meetings.
I listened in. That was my
Yeah,
first meeting. I
okay.
listened in.
So we're all familiar then with the decision to
Yeah.
suspend the bow hunt last year. And
Right.
in the course of that decision, we also agreed that this would be considered at the next town meeting, at the spring town the one coming up.
Mhm.
And when Alan and I had talked about it, we talked about, does that make sense to have it on the town meeting warrant for this spring, or should we consider instead a vote on the town election, some kind of a ballot vote? And so I think for us as a board, we need to figure out, well, let me say one other thing. And so if we do not make any decision on this, in whichever way we choose to move ahead, if we don't make any decision this by June, then we effectively are putting off the possibility of a bow hunt on town-owned land until 2022, because the time it takes to get it all, we wouldn't have the vote at the fall town meeting in time to actually set up a bow hunt for the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good
And
to
then
me.
in the meantime, we've been approached by somebody to do a study
Yep.
of
You
And
have,
that's in your town administrator's report. Is that right, Tim?
Yes, it is. Yep.
and we had a new letter today from that individual as well,
yes, saying,
reiterating their willingness to talk and see how we can make this happen.
Yeah. And they would collect some data that I think could potentially be useful in understanding the impact of deer on the habitat here in Carlisle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and in addition to that, Brad, what's his name? Anyway, the 7th grade science teacher is very interested in doing, helping with, possibly having the kids do some research and environmental study, and that I would try to, if we were to go ahead with this gal, Boston University, I would try to connect them together with the school, so it would be part of the school curriculum that we'd have kids involved.
Sounds, yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean,
I think we probably are we leaning for taking this off the warrant for this town meeting.
Yeah.
With the idea that there is activity which will better inform decisions in the future.
Yeah, I'd say in particular, if we're going to support the idea of the study, if we would support the study, then I think it would make sense to put this off.
And I think it would not hurt us to have one more year of hiatus.
Yeah.
I know that bow hunters probably, champing at the bit, but I think it would be, if we could get the study done, it would be very important for both, one way or the other.
Yep, I agree.
And I think we'd be better off just hunting another year, but doing something.
We've had a little activity, and I mean, there'd be really not much to present at town meeting, one way or the other.
Well, it would just be the same arguments rehashed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And there, thank you, Carrie. It's Brad Cranston.
Right, yeah. Okay, good. So we're gonna drop that guy, right?
Yeah, so that guy
And
goes away, and we will do a study.
We had put it on as an article and as a ballot question, not knowing which way the board would want to go. I guess we're going neither way.
Neither. I think once we
Also
get,
Also to point out, I mean, either way would have been a non-binding question, so it doesn't really resolve the issue one way or another. Only a bylaw would kind of satisfy that one, but since we're taking it off the warrant, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
And even as a non-binding question, I think, well, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I think as a board member, I would take that as a, whichever way that went, that would be guidance, and I would be inclined to follow it, even if it wasn't. Anyway,
Yeah, the
conversation for another time.
yeah, the non-binding question just added a lot of confusion the last
It
time.
does.
So, yeah, we'd have to be very clear but anyway, we've got time. I think, yeah, we'll see what the folks at BU have to say, because that was, a lot of the controversy is, are the data accurate and, is it thin, is it what? So, yeah, let's bring somebody in, we'll do the study, get the accurate information from a non-biased source and go from there.
Okay.
How serendipitous is that?
Yeah. And then I have a question about the section that is about the town election. So I just want to be clear on this. So then the marijuana bylaw, if it's adopted at town meeting, then it would require a vote on the town ballot. Is that right?
Town council says it has to, appear as a ballot question as well.
Okay.
Right, but it wouldn't be moved if it fails at TM, right? It wouldn't be voted on if it's not.
The ballots, it would be, the ballots would be printed.
Yeah.
I know, but no, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't count those results, right? Or if it's not moved at town meeting to vote on it, it dies, right? Or
Well, it would
I
still
don't
show
know
up on the
the
ballot.
law.
it can't
yeah.
fail at town meeting and win at the ballot box, right?
I think we had that last time, didn't we?
I think you have to win at both. If you lose at town meeting, you lose at the ballot box. Doesn't matter what you do at the ballot box, it doesn't get moved. And if you win at town meeting and you lose the ballot box, it also doesn't get moved, right?
I believe so.
Well, we can clarify that.
Right,
Yeah.
but it should be on this now anyway. But anyway, it doesn't matter because we've agreed that we'll take it up at town meeting.
Right.
Okay, so I have one question on above that one. Why is select men still a term?
Where?
Election of officers,
Ah,
right above question 1.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't do find and replace.
I've changed it on my version, which is,
Mhm.
the latest. So yes, we caught that one.
you changed it to select woman?
Select board?
Select board,
Yeah.
one for 3
and-
years.
This is not, this list is from last year, right? So this doesn't reflect, like it says one
Yeah,
year.
I think, right.
So it doesn't, this is not the new openings.
No,
Okay.
it is. Well, it
No.
only has one selectman.
No, but
Yeah,
there's
but-
one, there's only, whoever said it, Barney's right. It's only one school board anyway, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know if there are 2 for the planning board
Oh,
for
that's
3 years
true.
and 1 for 2 years. I think that's,
No,
but
and it should
whatever.
be corrected. I
That'll
presume
be
Peggy
updated.
will correct it.
We got the corrected version from Peggy and it's in the latest version of the warrant,
Yeah.
so, yep.
Because there's 2 from Board of Health.
Yeah.
You know, she'll
correct.
fix it.
Not,
She'll
yeah,
fix it.
it's fixed,
She'll
yeah.
fix it. Okay.
So can we,
Right.
let's move on. So do we need to vote this then as is? What we have
Well,
on
we
the
vote,
comments?
we vote to close the warrant.
It's a warrant.
Well, we've got to open, we have a motion.
Okay, that's
It's
right.
not specific as, do we have to amend the motion to say we're taking out Article 23 and we're moving Article, the one for
Town clerk to its own
town clerk
article.
in a separate article, or is it just we've documented it as we've discussed, sort of, so to speak?
Tim, do we need to change the motion or can we?
I don't think so. It's clear to me what you want and
Okay,
you'll
all right.
actually be signing it, on the 11th, so
Okay, all right, let's
Okay.
do it.
Yep.
So,
we're just not adding any more articles, so you're closing the warrant for that purpose.
okay,
Okay.
The warrant is closed.
well, we have to vote
And
that,
also-
right?
Yeah, now we have to vote.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar, sorry.
Louis, aye.
Sorry.
Modell, I.
Reed, I.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we go to the discussion of new town committees. First is the Public Safety Facilities Task Force. I sent out a revised charge today, and a suggested list of potential members and a completely random schedule. But that's what we've agreed to do. So I did make changes in the charge as suggested by several of the board members. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at those. I apologize for getting them out late today, but I was actually working on the town report today. So, and I didn't see that until late. But I think I've made all the changes, or the majority of the changes that were suggested by the board members.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I did too, Alan. Thank you. I just have one quick question about the sentence at the bottom of the section on responsibilities. It just says committee members will engage in a detailed assessment of public input. And so I assume that's suggesting that there will be, public hearings and opportunities for input from, more beyond what might go to a town meeting.
That's the intent.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Do you want to vote on that?
I move adoption of the Public Safety Facilities Task Force charge as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscar, aye.
Louis, aye.
Modell, I.
Reed, I.
Thank you.
Can you, Alan, I don't think I got it. So you might have, remember something that circulated last time had a weird address for me?
Yeah, you've got two addresses when I click on your name on the.
They're not right. I mean, I only have one address, but somehow in some earlier, like my cell phone shows up or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, just resend it to me so I have it.
Okay, will do. And I'll use the other address. All right.
Do we have to do anything?
Yeah.
Alan, do we have to do anything around the membership, or we'll wait and do that at the next meeting? People write in.
I wanted to put these out. I mean, I've asked a couple of people who've agreed to serve on the task force. And those are the first two listed, Bill Risso and Jerry Lerman. The others have been suggested by other members of this board, but I don't know them. I mean, I know who some of them are, but I don't know them personally. But I think they need to be discussed, and we probably should do that at the next meeting. And any additional people who you feel should be added to this list. And of course, the standard cast of resources will be available.
Well, do you want to run through this list very quickly, just so we know, so the people who do know who these people are can just say what they are?
I think everybody knows Bill Risso and Jerry Lerman.
Yes, right.
Angus Beasley.
He is part of the Beasley and Adams group so he's more the engineering type, I think, of the two.
Okay.
Just real quick, do these folks know we're discussing their names? Have somebody talked to them? Or are we just throwing their names out?
We're just throwing their names out at the moment.
Somebody's throwing their names out. I just want to know.
I've talked to two of them.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I know most of, I know everybody. And I think it's a fantastic list, but before we actually put names out there,
Well, I'm not suggesting we populate the committee tonight.
No, right. But I mean, before we say, hey, we're potentially suggesting these people for a committee, don't we want to know if they have any interest at all?
Well, we have to know whether we want to approach them.
No, okay.
Okay, and since we have an open meetings law, we can't do that except at a meeting like tonight.
I guess, okay.
Yeah, it's awkward, I agree, but I don't know how else to do this.
Yep.
Well, I think we should at least have reached out to the folks and said, hey, if Alan, if you were pulling this together, at least let them know. I mean, because, if they're going to read a mosquito article and all of a sudden their
The
names
reason
are.
I brought it here is since I don't know 3 of these people.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just, I don't know. If I were one of the 4 that nobody's talked to, I'd just be a little, I don't know.
It's kind of like the caucus, Luke,
Yeah.
right?
No, but it's not. I mean,
No, I'm just.
we have one-on-one
joking.
conversations with people all the time to see if they want to be on a committee. I'm just saying, you don't want to, you don't want to go off on the wrong foot with these people initially, just by putting it out there, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It'd be better to have
Awkward, but
sounded them out.
I don't know any other way to do it.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can ask the forbearance of Mary Lynn to not publicize these 6 names, just say there are some potential members.
Yeah, again, none of these members have been approved to be on the committee.
Right, but I mean, I think Luke's right in what he's saying. We should have a standard practice that we don't name a person unless we've consulted with that person and they at least said, I agree to be considered or something.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing that violates open meeting law to have a conversation with somebody about whether they're
Well, each of these
interested
people
in serving on a
have been
committee.
suggested by a member of this board.
Yeah, but then whoever suggests, let's say this way, if you suggest somebody, you should have that conversation with them first.
Well, you see the list, so that if you're the person who recommended that person, please call them and see if they're.
Right, exactly. That should just be a part. And if they say, fine, I'll consider it, they don't have to commit. They just have to say, I'm okay with considering.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
And again, the schedule, you asked for a schedule, so I put one together. I don't have any concept of whether it's a reasonable schedule or not, frankly.
Well, appointing the members, are we talking about doing that at the next select board meeting? May 11th?
We could. We can, we can even partially populate it.
Right, we could ask, people that have already said they'd be willing, or as those that reach out to the others, anyone that says they would be interested, we ask them to send in a letter of interest, in time to make the next select board packet.
Okay, so all of us should be thinking about who would be good.
Yep.
And if the chiefs have ideas, they should forward those names to us as well.
And they have forwarded some to us.
And they have forwarded some. And so we should be somebody needs to talk to those people as well.
And maybe what, just looking at this schedule here, Alan, which I think it's good to have a starting point, is that maybe the members, once they have their first meeting, they review this schedule and can, refine it further.
Really, the committee has to.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Determine the schedule, not us. Yeah.
Right.
We can say when we'd like reports from them.
Yeah.
But in terms of the work, they have to define what the work hasn't even been set yet.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, it is nice to have this draft schedule, because when we are reaching out to people, they know that it's not a long, forever project. It's easier to recruit people when they know that there's a deadline.
And so do we think that September is a reasonable time frame for this
It's a
new
reasonable time
committee?
for a report. I mean, we're not asking necessarily for, final recommendations at that point. We're asking for a report.
Oh, I see. Interim / final. Okay. Sorry, I was just looking at final report. Got you.
Okay. Town Governance Task Force.
Now, did we take a vote on approving yeah, we did, right?
Yes. we did.
Okay, sorry.
Well, the Town Governance Task Force is actually the moderator's baby, and he is going to write that.
Right, it's
That
going to town
charge.
meeting. Yeah.
And yeah, because town meeting, we put it on on an article there for town meeting to approve him, you know, setting up a task force, and so that will be his task force and his charge.
Yeah. Okay. And
Right.
we had, but, all right, so we don't, so you're not, we don't have to approve this charge?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. Town
All right.
meeting will,
I think it's best that we don't.
Okay, very good. So there's no action needed on that.
Yeah.
All right.
But what the action has already taken place. We kind of got up running, and
it's on the warrant.
His lap.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Appointments.
I move to appoint Christine Lear, 120 Oak Knoll Road, Rob Perry, 32 East Riding Drive, and Lana Zamaro at 398 Lowell Street to serve on the Transfer Station Task Force.
We had another applicant as well, Karen Panico.
Oh, Karen Panico, and Karen Panico on Tophet Road. I don't know her address.
187.
187. To serve on the Transfer Station Task Force.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to have, sorry, Luke.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, my screens are different, so I have to move to the left to get to the right screen. It's messed up. So, while I have a tremendous amount of respect for all these folks, they're all very outspoken as pay-as-you-throw proponents. And, except maybe Karen. I think Karen has been, very open about, kind of middle of the road. And, this is a very hot button issue. I mean, I don't know if folks are on City in the Woods, but it's that. I mean, we've received numerous emails. I think we have to do our very best to make sure this is a non-biased but very qualified committee. I have no issue with maybe one or two of the four going on, just because they do have extensive experience. But I think putting all four onto a 5-member committee, you're almost signaling to the town that it's a foregone conclusion that pay-as-you-throw is going to happen. And that may be where the committee gets to, right? But I just, I think we need to do a good job with this and make it as neutral as possible.
I think, wait, I just want to double check. Is it 5 or I thought we said 7?
Well, yeah, okay, but even if it's 7, right? Now you're still putting 4 on that are pro pay-as-you-throw, or at least 3. And again, I think it needs to be very neutral.
Are they pro pay-as-you-throw or just not anti-pay-as-you-throw?
Well, Christine has been outspoken on City in the Woods. She's clearly pro. And Rob and Lana, when they came to us last year as the recycling committee, I mean, that was the option that they came with, right? And, really no discussion with the board. And that's, I think, and that's why we tabled it, right? It was, and it's not that the board was against it, right? But it's a dramatic change. And, I think we're lining ourselves up for a huge amount of trouble if we even have any sort of inkling that, the committee's going to be biased.
So has this not been sufficiently publicized that we're looking for members?
Well, there's actually a letter to the editor going in this week, encouraging, saying this task force has been formed and to encourage people. I mean, it's not like we can't consider more members, at the next meeting. But other than that, and the mosquito article 2 weeks ago, which mentioned that this committee had been this task force had been established and was looking for members. I don't know how much other publicity there's been, but it has been on City in the Woods.
Yeah, a lot of misinformation, obviously.
No, but I meant that the task force had been set up and that people could express their interest in serving on it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, those people need to express their interest.
Yeah,
by
I
actually
think,
serving on these things. And if they have opinions about it, they're not being discouraged from offering them and offering to serve on these committees. So somebody, maybe we should, because I don't even read City on the Woods, so, but
I don't miss it much anymore.
yeah. Also, Luke, I will say, having had those, all four of those individuals were part of this, little informal working group that came up with the idea of the task force and set the charge and the goals. I mean, I don't mean to be a Pollyanna, but I think they all understand that to make any changes at the transfer station, it's going to be really important to make sure everybody has a chance to be heard, and that they think about, a multi-step process, and that, at least what I was hearing, and Tim, you were in that group too. You could see if, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this too. I really didn't get the sense that the first thing they're going to want to do is vote to have pay-as-you-throw installed. And that, in fact, I think they would really like to make sure that there are other voices in this group, and do it in a way that they can come out with a unanimous plan that everybody supports. I don't know, Tim, what's your
no.
sense?
I think that's accurate, and I don't think that the group intended to exclude other points of view necessarily.
And I'm not saying that, oh, sorry, Tim.
No, and actually, since the board's been discussing it, I had a message from Mr. Lavery, who apparently expressed his interest in the task force. I'll confirm that with Jen, but so there may indeed be other folks that want to be part of this group.
Right, so what did we, Barney, we decided on 7?
Yeah,
And is 1 a select board member?
yes.
So there's 6 at large. And we've gotten interest from either 4 or 5, if you count Mr. Lavery. So it seems to me we ought to hold it open it seems like there won't be a shortage of volunteers. And we can then select from a group rather than do a first come, first serve. And you know what? I agree with Kate. Listen, if you feel strongly and you don't put your name in the ring, then don't complain later. Right?
No, exactly. I've actually reached out to, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 different folks, and there are a couple possibles, but a couple of folks, they feel that the decision's already made.
Well, we got a mail over the weekend from somebody who felt very strongly about it. I mean, I didn't respond, and I don't respond to those kind of screeds, basically. But yeah, join the committee then. Put your hat in the ring, right? So
that's what I resent the most, honestly, is they feel the decision has been made already. What are we talking about? I mean, what are we spending hours? The decision has not been made.
no, but I mean, this one was
Talking about
one.
having a group study this. So
Right,
don't
no,
accuse
exactly.
us.
But
For some reason, in this one in particular, and maybe it's a byproduct of the pandemic and too much time, at home, but the conspiracy theorists have just come out of the woodwork about smoke-filled room stuff. And, yeah, I agree with you. I think we're being completely transparent. So having said all that, I believe the right course of action for the issue on the table is not to make a decision thank the people who have volunteered. We like that they volunteered. And let's hold it open for, I don't know, another session, at least the 2 more weeks.
In the interest of balance.
And give everybody a chance, and then that's it. We're gonna decide from the group that's in 2 weeks, something like that.
Right,
Right.
yeah, no, if folks don't move on it, then they don't move on it, right?
Right,
Yeah, I
and-
mean, you can't hold it open forever, but,
Right.
yeah, no, I agree with the
Have the
2 weeks.
motion to table time certain to the next meeting.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
okay. Enough.
Great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote. Gotcha.
I was gonna-
Arnold,
oh, well,
aye.
Oscar Lilo, aye.
We're moving to table this. Is that what we're moving?
Table it to a time certain.
Okay. Modell, aye.
Lewis, aye.
Reed, aye.
Thank you. Town administrators report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item in my report, you'll see that at long last, we've integrated the changes that we made with the police union in 2019 into the actual collective bargaining agreement. It's not part of a separate MOU, and it took some time for that to happen. So at a point in the future, I'd like for the board to sign this, with original signatures and not DocuSign. So we'll let you know when that's available, and you can come by at your convenience and sign that, or at least the members who were on the board at the time might feel more comfortable signing it than any that were not. But we do have that kind of at long last. The second item, I think, was alluded to a couple of times tonight, and I know Barney has made contact with the deer researcher at Boston University, I think it is, looking to take them up on their generous offer to study deer management issues here in Carlisle. And I suppose we can look forward to a discussion at a future meeting with these individuals. Is that the intent, Barney, that we'd have them in?
Well, no, I just wrote back to Sarah to let her know that we were going to be discussing it tonight. So I'm not sure if we're all ready to, I mean, we could do it that way, just have her, she's offered to come speak with us. So,
yeah.
Shall we have her come? I don't know what our agenda looks like. I mean, I know we've already got a bunch of stuff on May 11th, but
Maybe the second meeting in May?
Yeah.
the 25th. Does it, I don't mind being the point person with her. Shall I tell her that we are interested and we would like to have her come speak to us?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And tell her that there might be, I don't know if she's interested in it, but there might be some opportunity to work with the kids. I'd love to have that.
Yep.
See that integrated.
Yeah, I can include that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why sooner rather than later is important, right? 'Cause
Yes.
school will be out.
Yeah, because they're,
Yeah.
and because we're not the only town they're talking about
Yeah.
working with, so we want to make sure we express our interest.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Also in my report, you'll see the Department of Revenue's calculation of the town's free cash for last fiscal year, and it totals $3,157,000, and due in large measure to the funds that were turned back by departments at the end of the fiscal year when the board asked for a spending freeze on discretionary items. So that's a historically high level, and I think the finance committee is going to apply it to capital projects this year, if I understood Jim Dar this morning. So that is certainly a prudent way of handling something that's of a one-time nature, and that certainly don't want to put it into the operating budget going forward. So, and again, kudos to Priscilla for getting that done under a lot of pressure.
Poor thing.
And then I wanted to just bring up the Juneteenth holiday to the board. The state has created this new holiday to mark the end of slavery in 1865. And of course, a number of employees have noted this and are wondering what day they're getting off. As far as Juneteenth is concerned, I did attach the state holiday schedule, and you'll see that Saturday holidays are supposed to be observed on Saturdays, and Sunday holidays are observed on Mondays. So June 19th is a Saturday this year. It's a Sunday next year. Some towns are adding it to their list of approved holidays. Others have chosen first to bargain it with their unions before they apply it to the kind of the non-union population. So I put that out there. I don't know what the board's feeling is.
I think we should trade it for Columbus Day.
Yeah, are we compelled to adopt the state holidays?
I don't know the answer to that. I think traditionally we have.
Those are
but,
unfunded mandates, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying we should trade the state for it for Columbus Day.
What, you did not actually attach the list, at least in the packet I have.
No, I have it. I have it under Article 10, page 10 of the policeman's contract.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's in there.
Well, I don't know if well, there is one in there. Let me put it to you that way.
Get attached to that
No, it didn't
document.
get attached. It didn't, yeah. So,
Okay, I can circulate that. But according to the
Anyway.
state list, it's observed on the day, Saturday, June 19th this year.
Right, but it kicks the can down the road. There'll be 5 days in 2 years where we will inherit a holiday, right?
Right,
Yeah.
well, next year it's a Sunday.
and honestly, a policeman is going to work on a Saturday, so they're going to get paid for that day or time and a half, right?
Well, that's why they'd want to bargain that, that's.
Well, let's set
Not
aside,
automatic.
I don't want tail to wag the dog here.
No.
right? Contracts are contracts. Let's just move contracts off this thing. How many holidays do we have?
I believe we have 12.
And are any of those floaters, or are they all assigned to actual things?
I think they all have a specific date currently.
I mean, it's like July 4th, Labor Day. It's not like a floating day or day after Thanksgiving kind of thing.
The day after Thanksgiving is one of the towns.
So I
approved holidays.
suggest, that's a good personnel board thing, or this
Mhm.
other task force of, kind of evaluate. We're not gonna take this up at 10 o'clock at night.
No, it's just,
Right.
This
You're
is
just
So-
giving us a heads up.
that's why
Yeah.
it came up.
No, but
yeah.
it's important. We should take it up. We should take it up we have a year basically, as I understand it, to take it up, right? And the lead, again, if I'm reading all this stuff correctly, we're gonna be up for a police negotiation sometime in the beginning of 22 or the end of 21 calendar year. And I think that's also the same time we're gonna be in a school negotiation. Is it gonna be a school holiday even? That's another question, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Alan, we can't hear you.
I said, we're in the first year of the police contract. So we've got.
No, you're not in the
No.
first year. This thing runs till June.
22.
This time next year, it's gonna be over, right?
We're in the first year of the dispatchers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Police-
Yeah,
We're in
police
the
is
third year.
19
We're about to enter
22.
the third year of police.
Yeah. The police is up till June 30th, 2022. So,
Right, so
We
we'll
have
be
one more year.
negotiating that in the winter of next year, coming.
Yeah.
up. And the teachers are coming up, I believe. And I don't even know if this is a school holiday or not, which is another issue. So, you got the big unions coming up and everything else. So I think this is a whole thing we just have to table for the summertime. We should not, in my opinion, express any support for that holiday until we've analyzed it. And we have town council's opinion about what our requirements are.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Unless they want to trade their 5% healthcare match.
no, well, as I say, I'm in support of this holiday because I think it's the right holiday to have. But I think it should be traded for the holidays that
Right,
are
I mean, right, no,
inappropriate.
exactly.
And-
Let me state it a different way. If we agree that, say, 12 holidays is the appropriate number of holidays,
Yeah,
which is a fairly generous, I mean, 10 to 12, that's about the number. Okay. Then you got to look at things like day after Thanksgiving, which is not a holiday. And you can
Right.
say to people, if you want to use a vacation day, please do so. But you don't have to give it as a holiday. It's nothing, etched in stone that that is a holiday. So those are the kind of things I think that a more, logical stepwise analysis has to produce.
yeah. Maybe the select board could have a little task force and summer task force to look at those issues and.
Yeah, well, let's let's make a
After
note. Whoever's making a note, I guess that's probably Jen or
Tim.
somebody to,
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
issue we should tackle. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, so positive.
Okay, and then we have the list of upcoming meetings, the 2 in May and then town meeting on June the 6th. Got a fairly busy agenda next time. The Conservation Commission's coming in. Yeah,
Maybe I thought Sylvia said that wasn't really that urgent.
I think, yeah, maybe we could move that,
Could move her,
yeah, the 25th.
because it looks like we have a pretty heavy agenda. And could we get the agenda a little, because I thought we said in our goals that we would get the agenda a week earlier, a week before the meeting, rather than with the whole packet. So that we could know what was,
Well, it's available a week. I mean, I finalize it with the chairman a week before the meeting. I mean,
well,
it's,
could it be sent to us? Because otherwise, how are we going to get it? How are we going to know what it is?
yeah, is it, was that what the board had in mind? That everyone would get the, because I go over the agenda items and the exhibits with Alan and, we kind of come up with the batting order. And if that's the board's intention, that's fine.
Fine, yeah. Can go out.
Okay.
I usually send it back the day I get it.
Yeah, I guess it would be helpful to know in advance. And it would also give us then a chance if there was something that slipped through the cracks or that we forgot to ask you about or whatever.
Okay.
And then
So when is the meeting where all of us who've had 2 vaccines can have a beer together? When is that meeting?
Oh, so
Tomorrow.
I know it's Peppa, but
You get Pfizer or Moderna. We got to start counting the days.
yeah.
So who's not, yes, straw poll, who's got the both? Who doesn't have both, I guess, in this group?
Who does not have both? Okay.
I think we all have both.
Yeah, so we can meet in person.
Awesome, let's do
Yeah.
that. We should do that. Yeah, okay, cool.
For the beer, not for the meeting.
No, I think we should.
Definitely for, well, a meeting with beer is okay too.
Yeah.
Well, come to my house, you can have wine.
There you
Now
go.
we can do that. Okay, very good.
Tim, one other thing, or Alan, do you want to just mention that what's happening, the piece that the master plan, Nancy Show at West will write to go into the warrant book?
Yeah,
Oh.
right, good point.
Oh, right.
Or
I'm
maybe
fine.
everybody knows about it and that,
Well,
It seems fine. Do we need to vote that? I don't think we need to vote that. Do we?
no, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew. Okay.
Yeah,
Anytime we can put more information out
I
there.
really
it's a
wanted to
good-
bring it here in case anybody objected to it.
yeah, no, I asked, I'd like to see it when we get our warrant book, all the warrants, I'd like to see the draft at least to know what because it's going to be in the warrant book, it'll feel like it's under our signatures, even though it's not. So I would like to see it before
Yep.
it goes out. That's all.
Yeah, I think the idea is that Nancy Show at West is writing it and she'd have a draft ready. We could maybe maybe it could go out with the select board packet. I don't know.
It should, yeah, I agree. It should go with the packet. So,
The other thing that I'm happy to volunteer to help Tim on this, or Jen, is I also think the thing in the warrant book about committees that are looking for people to serve, needs to be updated. That's really old.
Oh.
It's in the back of the warrant book.
Actually, yeah, I would like it to be as a card that, yeah, we could still have it in the back of the warrant book. But I think also we should have it as a card that actually is not attached to the book that we hand out to people when they come to the town meeting. Or maybe the voting cards that we give them,
Yeah,
that could be,
right.
that could be a little information card about, themselves and, have them put it back in a
Yeah,
box or
That's
something.
a good idea, yeah. We should mention also, I know it's Wayne, he's probably went to bed, but I think Wayne did mention to us, and I'm probably gonna garble this, Kate, but he's been asked, or he's reached out to a guy who did some study of how we can do town meetings electronic, like bring our town meetings into the 21st century. He
Yes.
was telling us that, right?
Yeah, I forgot the name of the guy, but he's at UMass
He's at UMass Amherst, and he's
Amherst.
done. So anyway, I mean, there's some also, this is more long-term, but just trying to, because it strikes me, a lot of this stuff could be managed electronically if people had good ways to, express their interest and all that kind of stuff. So there's some effort happening there. I don't have.
We're gonna have an IT guy.
Yeah, we're gonna have an
Yeah.
IT.
Another job for that IT person, that amazing,
Right.
all skilled person,
Yeah.
multi-skilled.
I hope he's a genie in a bottle that can do because he's got a need to be to get all these wishes fulfilled.
Yep. All right, Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Liaison reports. I have one, but I won't give it tonight. You heard a lot of it in the LEPC on the Council on Aging, so they're doing lots of stuff.
Good, she's the kids on big doggy.
Yeah, the facilities committee continues to work.
All right. Approval of warrants. Thank you again, Barney.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get to the page. I
And
moved.
I think, David, you're the second in line to sign something, correct? Because
I
I'm going to
believe-
be away next week.
Okay,
So, and Prizzle knows that. So
okay,
if,
so she'll contact me to sign, okay.
yep.
Right. Okay, very good.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And approval of minutes. I did have one correction, which I sent to Jen.
Is that double, is your correction the double line of the savings thing?
No, it was on page 4, and it said that I questioned the changing the RFP language, and I didn't question changing it. I suggested it be changed. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's all right. And David, did you have another one?
Yeah, on page 3, where it says MNHG and MIAA, that first line of, that first total annual cost, I think that's just an artifact. It should just be a single line, right? The 1 million, well, there's some commas that are in the wrong spots, but
Yeah,
unless my version is corrupted, it just should be a single line, right? MNHG is 1,000,009 and MIAA is 1,000,008 something, and the commas need to be fixed, right?
yeah.
Okay, so the math that Kim had handwritten in the bottom of the other stuff in the packet is the right number. We should just make sure that's reflected.
Yeah.
All righty.
So I move that we approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2021 as amended.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscalillo,
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, I.
Very much.
See, usually I print out the minutes to read them. This time I read them on the screen and I
Hey,
missed all
it's-
of that.
Well, but it's Earth Day. You saved like a leaf of a tree by not doing that.
We have one more needed motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Roll call vote.
Arnold, I.
Oscalillo,
Louis, I.
Modell, I.
Reed, I.
Thank you all. Thank you to
All
the
right.
folks who looked in tonight. Thank you for being there, public. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jen.